engines roar in Thunder Valley, Bristol, Tennessee.
Male suspect. Possible target heading northeast.
It's a game called 12 rounds.
It all comes down to checkers or wreckers.
I think it's extra rounds myself.
The only way to keep her alive, you do exactly what I say.
It's a survival racetrack.
You want to see guys losing their temper?
I'm going to hunt you down.
I'll be waiting when he comes in.
And this is Kevin Harvick going after Greg Biffle.
You want to see cars losing their fenders?
It's always somebody else's fault. He's just crying up a river like he always does.
Out of the way!
He can't be doing that. I won't put up with it.
It's Bristol. There's going to be some beating and banging. There's going to be a lot of parts flying around him.
I just had to ask myself, would he do that to me? And he has before. That's the way it goes.
If you're still standing after all 12 rounds, you'll have won her back.
And that's why they sell it out every time the Sprint Cup Series comes to Bristol.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing Bristol style.
Game over.
NASCAR on Fox welcomes you to one of the most unique venues in sports. From the hills in northeastern Tennessee, it's Bristol Motor Speedway. 160,000 people on their way in, stacked 21 stories high to hear the roar and feel the rush of smash mouth racing. Among the headliners on display, five-time winner here at Bristol, Jeff Gordon. Short track specialist Jimmy Johnson has never won here, and one of the sizzling drivers in a hurry to get going, Kurt Busch. The sunny skies and nice weather may be masking an incoming storm of anger and revenge at our Hollywood Hotel, parked in the center of it all, Thunder Valley, along with Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond. Hi, I'm Chris Myers. We're glad you're with us after a week off. Nice to see you again. Hey, this is the first of 6 races at short tracks, and what does that all mean?
Well, for this race right here, it means it's the cul-de-sac 500. Go out and get all the neighbors. Get everybody out there in the cul-de-sac, line everything up, cars, wagons, bicycles, and run 500 laps. That's what it's going to be like.
Wait a minute. This right here to me is the Daytona of short track racing. When you think about it like this, folks, everybody wants to win here because it's 160,000 people cheering for you, and it's not a bad person on top of that.
54th consecutive sellout at Bristol. That's over 27 years. Amazing. And the Busch brothers on a roll. You know, Kyle won in Vegas, and then Kurt won in Atlanta. They hope they're not done. Can the brothers go back to back to back today? And Mark Martin struggling on race day, but he captured his second straight pole.
It feels really good to come back after having a lot of bad luck on the races to show that we've still got speed.
And his bad luck has him and some others in the danger zone. Next week, drivers not in the top 35 on the season's owners' points will have to qualify their way into each race. Martin currently 35th. More on the trouble spots later. But, Darrell, you've won here 12 times on this track. We know guys like Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards are good here. Who's going to start today?
Well, you know what? I think I got to look at the numbers. I got to look at where people are starting. And a lot of guys qualified up front. But the good guys, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, Clint Boyer, Dale Jr., they're all starting in the back. I think what we're going to see is a classic. You're going to see those guys up front. You're going to see those guys in the back, and they're going to meet somewhere in the middle.
They're going to meet in the middle, all right. It's going to be ugly, and I hope it is today. I hope these guys kind of ramp it up today and start racing the old-fashioned way, beating and banging a little bit. And the crew chiefs, I already talked to them. They've got some pretty bad pit stalls, so that's going to also be intriguing as how they have to kind of dig out of this hole.
Darrell, you've had success here, but tougher to pass here, to get around, get through people, right?
It's not as tough as it used to be.
Yeah.
They've changed the track up some now. The way they've redone the track, you got an outside groove. Here's what I don't want to see, though. This makes me angry. I don't want to see somebody put their hand out the window and say, go by on the inside.
No nice guy?
No. Race. Race hard.
All right. This is the fourth race since they have widened the track. We've had fewer cautions, not as many passes, but we'll keep an eye on that. Former NASCAR champ Kurt Busch has dramatically turned things around from last year. He's already led more laps than he did for the entire schedule in 08 so far. Currently third in points. He's even more comfortable here at Bristol, where he's won 5 times.
Kurt Busch is a first-time winner at Bristol.
Pretty impressive young man right there. He can win every race we go to.
He has done it once again. Kurt Busch. It is Kurt Busch's 5th Bristol win.
And Kurt joining us from down on the track. Hey, Kurt, congrats on the success so far. This close to a start of a race like this, when you get behind the wheel, what's the last thing that goes through your mind?
Well, you just got to check your ego and your temper at the door because this is Bristol. This place will chew you up, spit you out pretty quick. So you just got to know the attitude of each racetrack right before you buckle in.
Well, Kirk, I gotta know. We saw Alan Kawicki do his thing. I've seen you do Snow Angels, but how about that victory lap? I mean, what made you decide to do that? And in all places, I mean, that's kind of hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, me and my buddies had a few too many Miller Lights one night, and we came up with this reverse victory lap. I'm like, no, it's already been done. He says, no, do it in reverse. I'm like, maybe reverse gear will blow out, and I won't be able to make it all the way around. The car did, and we had just an overwhelming support from our fans, and we named it the Unwind Lap. So we're going to unwind with a Miller Lite with some great taste after every race.
I like it.
Hey, Kurt, DW, look, little brother has sort of been the show. Are you getting tired of that? Is it time for a big brother to take over?
Hey, I'm not tired of it at all, as long as we keep it in the family. He's done a great job to settle in with his team and to win races with this new car, and I feel like we've turned a good corner with the Miller Lite Dodge and Penske Racing to be competitive and to hold up our end of the bargain when we're out there running with Kyle.
Let's see that big smile one more time.
So far, you're 1-1 with your brother Kurt. I don't know if you've thought about this, but you guys, with your combined victories, are 6th on the all-time list of brothers that have raced in the Cup Series. And I mean, when you go to the top of the list, you're chasing obviously the Waltrip brothers and Allison at number 1. Is that something you guys have talked about? Would that be important for you to move up that list as a combo?
Well, it's something you can't talk about or focus on. It's great to be where we are on the list, but still just working on our own programs. He's got to win with Gibbs. We got to win with Penske. And over the years, those stats will add up. And, you know, the Labanis are both champions. And it's just the list is so heavily detailed that we'll have a long way to go to get caught up. So we're happy just to be part of it right now.
All right, well, thanks for your time. Have fun today. I know you're comfortable here. We'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, thanks,
Good luck,
guys.
buddy.
All right, we thank Kurt Busch for being with us. Here's what's around the turn on the show. He's come in second twice this season. Close, but no cigar for 4-time champ Jeff Gordon. We'll talk live to the points leader. Plus, Hollywood Hammond's reputation is in danger. Michael Waltrip and some drivers going Hollywood. And speaking of Waltrip, if Bristol is a Coliseum, then DW is Caesar, conquering this place more than any other driver. Find out what he thinks about the drivers in today's race. And we'll hammer out some of the details on the show in Gas and Go. Before they go green, you'll be ready to roll and do the Bristol stop with us. We're glad you're watching Fox. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing is sponsored by Claritin Allergy Products, Live Claritin Clear, and by Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic, our ultimate clean, your ultimate feeling. It was 30 years ago here at Bristol that a young man in a hurry, Dale Earnhardt, won the first of his 76 career races. Junior was 4 years old at the time, says he's never seen that video. Hopefully he's TiVoing the race now as Junior gets ready. By the way, Junior has to move to the back of the pack with a transmission change. Would have started 34th. Junior was the fastest in Saturday's first practice. During the race today at Bristol, we're going to look at some of the clips from the new movie, 12 Rounds, starring John Cena. He's a detective, Danny Fisher. Cena will have to complete 12 challenges to save the life of his kidnapped fiancée, held hostage by a vengeful escaped convict. 12 Rounds opens everywhere this Friday. Point standings after 4 of 36 races. Jeff Gordon is the leader. Clint Bowyer second on the list. Jimmy Johnson, the winner of the last 3 Cup championships here, currently in 13th place, so not on the radar there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 24th. The battle for the 35th spot critical after Bristol. If you're in the top 35 in the season's car owner points, you automatically qualify for the race. From 36 and beyond, you have to qualify each week to make the field. So we've got some names, Mark Martin, Ryan Newman, Joey Logano. Daryl, who do you say is in there safe?
Yeah, well, here's what I like. Great athletes do great things. And 2 guys on the front row, they knew coming in here they got to have great weekends. Where'd they qualify? First and second. So Ryan Newman and Mark Martin, they get out here with pretty decent finishes. They're going to be just fine. Now, there's some other guys back there I'm not so sure about, Jeff.
No, you're right about that there. Guys like Scott Speed, the rookie, Joey Logano, even Eric Almirola, all these guys right now, they're in trouble. I mean, if they're not careful, they could easily slip out of that top 35, and some of them are already out of the top 35. And fighting your way back up in there is not going to be easy because you've already mentioned Mark Martin and Ryan Newman. They're at the top of the heap right now, the head of the class. It's not going to be easy to get by these guys.
No, and you're just locked in week to week.
Right.
It's not for the whole year. It's just week to week.
Tough way to operate. Almirola, his ride in Texas may be up in the air. J.J. Yaley might step in for him. Meanwhile, if you're Jeff Gordon, we have good news. We have some bad news. And we'll start with the good news. Finished second in 2 of the last 3 races. More good news. He's the only driver to have led laps in all 4 races. And more good news. He's the points leader. The bad news. He's gone 45 races without a win, the longest drought of his career. A little more good news, breaking a 31-race winless drought here in 2002 at Bristol. And more good news, you get to talk with our Steve Burns.
All right, thank you very much, Chris Myers. The good news for Jeff Gordon is
You get around this place great. 5 wins. You've led over 2,400 laps. How is that, Jeff?
It's been a great track for us. It has changed a little bit since they reconfigured the asphalt or the concrete, but I feel like this time around we've really, this whole year we've improved things with the DuPont Chevrolet, and I feel like it's transferred over even here to Bristol. So the team's doing a great job. I mean, one, you got to stay out of trouble, you got to try to qualify good, and then you got to have a fast race car and hopefully be around the end.
All right, we wish you a lot of luck. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you.
And thank you, Steve. This week at Bristol, the brand new Digger Rig souvenir truck making its debut. Look for the truck at upcoming races. Fans can line up and get your Boogity t-shirts or your I Kid Because I Care t-shirts. If they don't have it, call Van Collie. He'll personally take care of you. Or go to foxsports.com, keyword Digger, or dwstore.com. That's dwstore.com. We're getting ready to go racing here in beautiful Bristol. Welcome back here. It is part of our support for Susan G. Komen for the Cure. Fox Sports, Sharpie, and the Bristol Motor Speedway are all proud to host a special gathering for breast cancer survivors, family members, and volunteers here at the track today. For more information, please visit Komen, that's KOMEN.org. We appreciate your support. Jimmy Johnson, his wife Chandra, have appeared in our public service announcements for the cause. Of course, Jimmy has won 7 of the last 13 short track races and hopes to pull into victory lane today. Chandra, his wife, a former fashion model, and she happens to be in the latest issue of Vogue, as we get a look at the publication on the cover. And Chandra has a nice look inside there. And Chandra, like, boy, she's.
Obviously he looks at those.
All right, well, wait a minute.
Daryl,
Hammond's on the cover of the latest Vague magazine. Can you see? And it has everything. Here we go. There you go. It's got ageless tips from Dick Berggren, hair tips from myself, and tanning tips from Jeff Hammond. All right, wow. I kid me because I care. Sometimes losing your cool on the job comes with the competition. Names come to mind like John McEnroe, Rasheed Wallace, Lou Piniella, Christian Bale.
That's what you know. We're done professionally.
All right, as Christian, here in Bristol, the deal is you check your engine, you check your brakes, and maybe more importantly, you have to check your temper.
I won't tolerate a lot of that.
That's just Bristol, baby.
Biff is an idiot.
It's always somebody else's fault.
Mr. Ed, that's the way it goes.
All right, so to get heated today, we want to spice up this season. We've had a week off here. Who's the driver? Who's going to get hot? Who's going to lose it here? It's been great over the years.
It's a list.
Right.
Harvick, Stewart, Biffle.
All right.
You name. I want to see somebody up on somebody's hood today.
I am glad you finally said that right now. How about Montoya and some of these guys like that right now? Let's get it going. Let's have some real racing the way it's supposed to be instead of riding around here just playing follow the leader. And I like what you said earlier. I don't like that. Point me by on the other side. I want some donuts. I want some donuts with my coffee. In your case, a latte.
You and I might go at it, but
you keep it up. We will.
Vague magazine. Oh, but real, I loved. Remember when Harvick reached? Who was it? Kurt Busch. He was going to come over the car after him.
Greg Biffle.
Yeah,
he just ran over the top of his car right over the hood. So but that's what Bristol's all about.
Yeah.
I'm tired of people throwing Perrier bottles at each other. I want to see some right hands.
Okay. In the last 3 spring Bristol races, Tony Stewart has led more than 50% of the laps, but in those races, he hasn't led at the end of the last lap. In fact, his only win here, 2001. Today, Stewart's first Bristol race as the driver and part owner of the 14 car, and Matt Yoakum is with the man known as Smoke.
Chris, an impressive start to the season for any first-time car owner. Smoke, 3 top 10s in the first 4 races. What has surprised you the most about how this 14 team has come together so quickly?
I don't know that I don't know that I have had a surprise with it yet. I mean, you look at it on paper, and it's all supposed to work right the way it's laid out on paper with all the resources we've got and the sponsors and partners we have. And it's just kind of went like clockwork so far. I mean, we had one miscue at Vegas that kept us from running in the top 5 there, but if we finish in the top 5 there, we're probably 2nd or 3rd in points. So everything's been going really well. I'm really proud of Darian Grubb and Tony Gibson on the U.S. Army car and Bobby Hutchins and all the guys on this Office Depot Old Spice Chevy. They've just done, everybody at Stewart Haas has just done a great job getting ready for the season, and hopefully we can get both of us a good day, but especially Ryan. I mean, Ryan deserves a good day today. He's just had terrible luck the first 4 weeks, and hopefully we can both have a good day and we can watch him have have a good finish.
One word, a win today would be like winning at?
I'd be like winning at Indy to me. This place is hard. This is a hard place to win, and if you win it, it's really big.
Keep an eye on the 14 car. They start top 15. Chris?
All right, Matt, we thank Tony. Time to catch up with our Fox News Watch. And just announced Travis Kvapil has lost his ride in the 28 car. The unsponsored team came into today 40th in points. NASCAR drivers taking their act to the small screen. Michael Waltrip was on My Name is Earl. Jeff Burton appeared on General Hospital, and Clint Boyer showing up on that TV show, The Biggest Loser. Kevin Harvick winning the nationwide race yesterday, first time in his own car, but Kyle Busch frustrated. He lost the lead. It was a tire mishap in his pit. And speaking of troubles, Marcus Ambrose will be without his regular gas man for the next 4 races. NASCAR level day suspension on Jimmy Watts. You remember he chased down that stray tire on pit road in Atlanta. He was out there running. Nobody felt worse than us for Jimmy Watts chasing that tire. He wanted to get away, take a little vacation, but something unfortunate happened when he tried to go to get to the plane. That's Jimmy. He was chasing down the. So that's something he's used to catching up to.
Down the tarmac there.
Yeah. It's okay, Jimmy. We're rooting for you. Hang in there. All right, we time for Gas and Go. We have questions. They have answers.
Why couldn't you been on that plane? Why could you not been on that plane?
By the way, these questions have been locked away with the bonuses for those AIG executives. All right, I just want you to.
All right, you're on the clock. Then we're going to put a tax.
Here you go, Darrell. Of the current drivers, I want to best give me the best short track racer who's out there today.
Jeff Gordon. He's got 70. I think he's run 104 races on short tracks. He's won 5 here at Bristol, 15 overall, 70 top 10s. You got to finish to win.
All right, fair enough. You want to debate that, Jeff? You with him on that one?
I can't argue really too much, man. I think he's right. I think he's the best.
All right, how tough is it for a crew chief to communicate here at Bristol because of Thunder Valley, the noise, and you got to hear each other?
What'd you say?
All right.
I mean, it's one of those situations where you've got to be able to, have notepads. You've got to make sure everybody's got the radio turned up as loud as possible, and you need to be succinct and make sure you get precise information back if you want to make the right calls.
All right.
It's very difficult.
Kind of like doing TV. Be succinct. All right, it's been Darrell, for you, 75 races since the Daytona 500 win for Kevin Harvick. Is today a day he could pull into victory lane on this track?
Well, he won yesterday, and there's always something about momentum. Kurt Busch coming off the win at Atlanta. Kevin coming off the win yesterday. They are good here. Yeah, he could do it. I'd say he's got a shot.
Okay, good. We love the Ask.com when you guys help us out. This week's Ask.com Gas and Go viewer submitted a question. It's from Trace Knox, and Trace asks, why do they call Bristol Thunder Valley?
Well, I mean, it's really easy. It's located right here in this little valley, and you got a drag strip on one side. You got the racetrack as far as Bristol's concerned right here. And when they're doing either one of these events, this place just echoes down through the valleys, and that's the reason why they call it Thunder Valley.
Yeah, it's a great sound. It's tough to hear, but it's a great scene. Darrell, for you, what element is missing to make Dale Earnhardt Jr. one of the top drivers at Hendrick Motorsports? He's got the support now.
Yeah, I love Tony Jr., and I know they love each other. I know he and Jr. are best buddies. But he needs to step up. Tony Jr. needs to make Dale Jr. get up on the wheel and get the job done. Okay. He needs to not let Jr. run the show. Tony Jr. needs to run the show, and that's my opinion.
Is that fatherly advice?
That's the best I got, buddy.
Coming from last July at Daytona, it was the last time that Jr. was the top finishing Hendrick car. All right, Jeff, for you here, F1, they changed their championship rules, putting much more emphasis on wins. A lot of people like that. Does NASCAR give enough credit to the guy who actually wins the race?
Well, I mean, I think we're trying to do that already by giving the bonuses like we're doing. Maybe we need to continue it more into the chase and maybe put more emphasis there. But I think we've done a pretty good job. Maybe we need to step it up, an extra 10 or 20 more points. But I think so far, if you go down through that garage area, most of these guys are driving about as hard as they think they need to be able to make the chase, which is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, Carl
They need to go win some races.
Last year, Carl won the most races, but Jimmy won the championship. What do you think?
And initially, right off the top of my head, I said, yes, that's what we ought to do. But you know what? Our system has served us so well for so long. They've tweaked it here, they've tweaked it there. I think wins need to be more important than they are. I think they should be huge. I think that'll put a lot of pressure on the guy to go out there every week and win. But I don't think we can decide to champion by wins alone.
All right, good. I like that. All right, Darrell, for you, 12. Where do you put all those 12 trophies from here? That's a beautiful trophy they give at Bristol.
Yeah, I spread them around. My mom has one. All the car owners I've driven for have one. I've won races here for everybody I've ever driven for, including myself. But people ask me, why do you win so much? Why did you win so much there? Look at how many top 5s and top 10s I had. I drove my car into the trailer every time I raced here.
All right, so did he ever give you any of those trophies to take?
I've got one.
Oh,
I mean,
everybody's got one.
He gave me one.
What a team player. All right, and if you have a question that you want Jeff or Daryl to answer on the show, email it to askdw@ask.com, and the question will be selected, and we'll ask it live on our pre-race show when we're in Martinsville, Virginia next week. Daryl, if you had to sum up as a key, and you talked about your driving style fitting this track, is patience a word, and how do you handle that on this track, especially given some of the competitive tempers these guys have?
Yeah, patience is the key word, but that don't mean you creep around the racetrack and take it easy and go slow. Got to be patient with all the other drivers, all the conditions, everything that happens all day long. Got to be patient.
The word's persistent. You got to be persistent.
All right, we're going to see who's persistent and patient. Daryl heads up to the broadcast booth to call the race. As you look at the faces of some of the combatants in this race today, we're counting it down live to the start at Bristol. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race. We're getting ready to go 500 laps around this half-mile track, and Daryl's got his own Bristol stop version. Terrific weather and a great crowd. You know, last Sunday, Reverend Hal Marchman, the man who gave the blessing before the Daytona 500 for nearly 50 years, passed away. A friend of the sport who always took care of his flock. We remember him. He was 89 years old.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the presentation of colors by the Special Ceremonies Team Color Guard from the 14th Weather Squadron in Asheville, North Carolina. Remain standing and remove your hats for today's invocation by the Reverend Mike Rife of the Van Sant Church of Christ in Van Sant, Virginia.
Dear God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this event, its host, and its sponsor. We ask that you continue to bless Bristol Motor Speedway, Food City, and all of their associates. We also ask that you will protect today's participants as they will be providing for us an entertaining afternoon. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please remain standing for today's national anthem, and we ask that you please put your hand on your heart as we hear from MCA Nashville recording artist Ashton Shepard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
Always a special place. Bristol happens to be the birthplace of country music and the sweet sound of our national anthem. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. NASCAR on Fox welcomes you back to Bristol, Tennessee. Carl Edwards has won 2 of the last 3 Bristol races, looking for the first win of this year. And as we've mentioned before, we are on Twitter, and Jeff Hammond will be tweeting throughout the race, so you can check that out. Chris Myers, Jeff Hammond from the Hollywood Hotel. On your Verizon Championship Racing checklist, we've talked about a number of things.
Right.
What should we be paying close attention to at this point?
Well, I think, here at Bristol, it takes a little bit different checklist than normal. To me, when you start this race, you need to be giving. You got to give and give. But as the race goes on, about middle ways, it's a little give and take. You get a little more aggressive about it. And that last quarter of the race, it means take. That means if somebody gets in your way, you got to knock them out of the way and get on with the program. That's the way you race and win at Bristol.
That's like cheating. You have like 3 words on the 3 checklists. Give, take. Actually, that's just 2 words that you double.
That's right. Can you?
Did you spell all those yourself? Hey, why
Patrick helped me with them.
What Patrick Parrott, our esteemed researcher, helps us with all the important details. But I want to know why Jimmy is having trouble, Jimmy Johnson, closing the deal this season. No top 5 finishes in the last 5 races. Good short track racer. We know he hasn't had success yet at Bristol.
Well, I think it's a combination of things, and I wouldn't panic about it. I mean, I think they're going through trying to learn a couple of things with this car again. I think they've got a little bit different approach than a year ago, but I wouldn't worry about these guys. It's just a matter of time. He'll jump up in the top 12, and today, well, he's running well enough right now to maybe get that first win here at Bristol.
Yeah, starts 3rd. Greg Biffle starts 4th. He's a guy who's had some success here. He might be kind of a sleeper pick with these guys.
Well, starting up front, we've already talked about how important it is to start up front, but I wouldn't overlook a guy like Ryan Newman. He's got something to prove, and there's another team that looks like they need to be rallying, but you got guys in the back like Kevin Harvick who won yesterday. You know they're coming to the front. That's what we got to watch, the guys that are coming.
All right, so Bobby Allison, the honorary starter. Frank Beamer, the head coach at Virginia Tech, ready for those words we love to hear, Bristol or anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the words we've all been waiting for, Food City 500 Grand Marshal, Coach Frank Beamer.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Frank Beamer, head football coach at Virginia Tech, big race fan, good guy, consistent coach, successful winner. Here to enjoy with 160,000 in Thunder Valley. It's Bristol on Fox.
All the excitement and anticipation of a college football game in racing's biggest stadium-style arena, and all the on-track action of the Roman Coliseum. That's what you get when you come to Bristol. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Darrell Waltrip high atop what they call Thunder Valley as we get set to go for 500 laps. This place is as much fun as it can be fickle. Last year, Jeff Burton won the race after leading just 2 laps. And Denny Hamlin, he's led the white flag lap here the last 2 years in a row, but can't get into victory lane. Darrell, you've won here 12 times. What is it about this place?
Well, you know, you just can't let your guard down. You've got to stay up on the wheel. That's where that term came from, right here, up on the wheel. And you got to stay up on that wheel for 500 laps. And you can't take anything for granted. You can't assume anything. You got to make sure, and you got to do it all day long if you want to end up in victory circle.
And I think, you know, it's going to be a day of comers and goers. The entire field was only separated by 1/2 of a second. We've got guys like Matt Kenseth, like Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards starting at the back of the field. They've got fast race cars. Clint Boyer, he's fast. And how about Dale Earnhardt Jr., the fastest car in final practice? He's all the way at the rear. But I think we have some guys at the front like Reed Sorensen, Dave Blaney, Todd Bodine that maybe don't have that good of a race car that got a good qualifying run. In the pre-race, Darrell had a great plan. They're going to meet in the middle. Problem? There's not enough room to meet in the middle. That's the whole problem at a half-mile racetrack.
Collision!
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's race. Sterling Marlin picked off the last spot. Reagan and Menard. There's Jeff Burton, who won here last year, starting way back, as is Carl Edwards, Bobby Labonte. Dale Earnhardt Jr. goes to the rear there with 2-time winner this season, Matt Kenseth. Kurt Busch, our winner in Atlanta. Clint Boyer, Harvick. A lot of big names toward the back of this field, but 0 in on that 11 car. Denny Hamlin driving in the FedEx Toyota, starting right about midfield. Darrell.
Denny Hamlin, it's a DW. You got a copy, buddy?
10-4.
Hey, buddy, it's been woulda, coulda, shoulda. That 11 car's got a lot of history today. Can you take her to victory circle?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the last 2 years has taught me that you can lead on 499, but not 500. So it's time we get one back for this 11 FedEx seat.
Buddy, are you excited about today's race? How do you feel? You feel good? Are you pumped up?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the most physically demanding racetrack that we have all year long. You know, it takes a lot out of you. You just got to stay focused, and that's the biggest part, is staying focused, watching out for the wrecks, make sure your car's clean at the end. Looking forward to it. I think our whole FedEx team prepared a great car for me. Yesterday, we were really good.
All right, my friend, make that 11 car stand tall today, and good luck to you.
10-4.
Let's take a look at our FedEx Understanding the Race. Some trends the last 8 spring races here at Bristol Motor Speedway. The longest green flag run, about 98 laps. We normally don't have a green flag pit stop, but that's about the average over the last 8 races. The last caution, normally about 30 laps to go, but the last 2 races we've had a caution in the last 5 laps of this race. And how about cars running at the finish? On the average, 36 of the 43 cars last year, all but 1 was still running at the checkered flag.
Make it a great race day with a perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, a great American lager.
And Larry, when people say, how do you win here? If you look at Jeff Gordon, you look at guys that are successful here, you got to finish. You got to finish with all the fenders on the car if you want to try to win here.
Mark Martin on pole for the 2nd race in a row. A feat that Martin accomplished once prior in his career 20 years ago.
He went 257 races, I think, without a pole. Now he has 2 in a row. There you see 500 laps around this half-mile racetrack. Pit road speed almost the entire distance of the racetrack, 30 miles per hour. The pit window for Sunoco Race Fuel, 140 to 50 laps. Chris Myers mentioned it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the rear, transmission change.
Well, the lights are out, Larry. The lights are out.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we're saving electricity. No, we're ready to race. In Thunder Valley, this place nearly filled to capacity. There were tickets available this week for the first time in a long time to see a NASCAR Cup race at Bristol.
DW, first short track race of 2009. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
Oh, yeah, boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's do the Bristol stomp, boys.
Greg Biffle got a good jump on Jimmy Johnson on the break, jumped up to 3rd. Behind our front row cars, Martin and Ryan Newman.
I think Biffle will be good today if those ribs that he hurt on his boat dock, if they don't come a problem for him today, he's got a fast race car.
Tell you what, Ryan Newman, he wants the lead. Mark Martin in that 5, he got his 5 bonus points. How about Newman? He'll take the lead here on lap 3.
And Mark, it's a veteran move right there. Move out of the way and let that faster car go. Otherwise, he'll wreck you. Early in the race, I'm talking. Now, I don't want to see that all day, but right now it's okay.
Jeff Gordon moving up as on Dave Blaney. Blaney had a great qualifying run. So did Todd Bodine among the sponsorless teams or minimally sponsored teams, but both of those cars not so much advancing, and Jimmy Johnson takes 3rd spot back from Greg Biffle.
Tell you what, Dave Blaney in the 66 was one that I talked about in the opening about being a little concerned about their race trim, but he looks pretty solid right now here in the early going.
Blaney's a great little driver, and of course that car hadn't finished any races this year, but it's made all of them.
His car owner, Phil Parsons, ran in the Legends race here last night. Got a good 6th place finish, driving a car of the same number.
I've been watching this 26 car of Jamie McMurray. He is working that high groove, and that's where he's passed every car that he's passed in the 2nd groove off the bottom.
See, up until they redid the racetrack, the first time you saw somebody up the track, we'd be screaming, he's up the track, he's in the wall. Not anymore. A lot of grip up there.
Now, I mentioned Todd Bodine in the 64. He's kind of hung on the outside of this 2nd pack. Here they come. And Eric Almirola and Michael Waltrip working to get past.
Yeah, Todd just got in, or Michael just got into Todd I don't know how much damage it did to Michael's car, but it sure looked like he got a piece of that right front tire.
Oh, 3 wide for a second there as Martin Truex tried to take advantage. Things are pretty much jammed up from right there on back.
But look at the cars. There are places to go. There didn't used to be any place to go. By now, we're on our 10th lap. We would have the leader at the back of the field trying to lap cars. Today, there's a pretty good gap because these guys can race each other and not be held up by someone.
But I tell you, that's what really makes it interesting as we're riding with Denny Hamlin. Darrell talked to him on the pace laps. Right now, Hamlin has actually fallen back, or he stayed about where he started. He's in the 23rd position. But yeah, that's what really changes the complexity of the race, is when the leader catches the back of the field, that pulls everybody up to the leader.
Jimmy Johnson just moved under Mark Martin on the front straightaway to take over second place.
And I talked to Chad this morning, and he said that Jimmy was really happy with the car. The car was nice and snug. They didn't think if they were going to fight anything today, it might be a little push in the car, but he felt like he had a great car for the race.
Johnson just about 7/10 of a second behind race leader Ryan Newman. And here's Kyle Busch, who started 19th in the number 18, running 14th alongside Scott Speed.
I just hope that Kyle Busch has put yesterday behind him. He finished 6th in the Nationwide Series race, had a car to win the race. They had a snafu on their last pit stop, had to go to the tail end of the longest line late in the race. He could only get back to the 6th position.
I got to tell you, though, he's learned his lesson. He threw his stuff in the car and he left. He didn't stay there and say something that would have gotten him in trouble or anything. I think he's really matured a lot. I know he got hot yesterday, but I would have hot too if I'd have been him.
He just moved past Reed Sorensen in the 43 car. Reed was one of the ones I talked about. He's fallen back to 14th now.
Tony Stewart coming up behind him
up front, please.
in the 14. Jeff Gordon has caught David Rudiman. Rudiman in 5th, had a strong practice in qualifying. Now Jeff goes to the bottom. His last time through turns 1 and 2, he was way high up the racetrack, testing that high groove.
All right, now action's going to pick up here very shortly from about Todd Bodine, Joey Logano back here to Joe Nemechek. That little group right there, because they're going to, spotter's going to be saying the leader's coming. Quit letting those guys hold you up, and that's when we have trouble.
Gordon gets 5th as you watch that battle on the left of your screen from Todd Bodine in the 64 from 23rd on back.
Yeah, he's on the same straightaway almost as that group. 20 race cars.
But we're at coming up on 20 laps, and the leader is just about ready to put the 09 car Sterling Marlin a lap down in 20 laps. And it won't be long, 10 more laps, and he'll be looking at the whole back of the field.
See Kurt Busch there in that 2 car. Just did not get a good qualifying run in on Friday.
And just so you know who's in that group, Kevin Harvick is in that group. Dale Jr. is in that group. That's Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth. These guys are going to have to make something happen.
Clint Boyer was getting aggressive with Paul Menard, trying to find a little racing room. As you're right, Darrell, suddenly the rearview mirror is beginning to fill up for some of these fellows toward the back of the pack, and that includes last year's winner here, Jeff Burton. Ryan Newman, your leader in Bristol. Lap 27, John Andretti's single car spin has put us under the first caution of the day. Krista.
The 48, Jimmy Johnson stayed out. The 18 of Kyle Busch, a little bit tight. He comes in for just 2 tires. Matt.
Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon, 3rd and 5th, both going for right side tires only.
And Mark Martin wins the drag race off pit road, the very unique situation here at Bristol.
If all you're going to do is give me 2 tires, I'd have stayed out.
I like staying out. You know, he's got about 7 other cars that stayed out with him, including Carl Edwards, who started way back in the 38th position. I like the fact this early in the race, only about 25 laps on your tires, of staying out at Bristol.
I do too.
And that's what Jimmy Johnson did. He did not pit, nor did Dave Blaney, Marcus Ambrose, Todd Bodine, Elliott Sadler.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Gillette Fusion, Gillette's closest, most comfortable shave. By Sprint, NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race. By Toyota, moving forward. And by Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Now add to that list of drivers who did not stop Carl Edwards and Paul Menard. So Mark Martin, who came out first, will restart 8th. And Darrell, here's why we're under caution.
Looks like John Andretti just got a little too high. It's a little early in the race for debris to be a problem. He looked like he just lost the car up high. Now the problem is he's going to slide down here and boom, mess up that man's barriers.
Hit the Fitch inertia barriers.
I think desperation was setting in for John Andretti. The leaders were coming.
A bunch of guys were getting ready to panic. Well, spotters.
So at the time, Sterling Marlin was the only car that had been lapped by Ryan Newman, so he will get the free pass and come on around. Carl Edwards was one of those drivers who stayed out and did not pit. And there's the duck for today's Aflac trivia question. What's the record for the most laps led in what is now the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series?
How many laps is this race?
You're talking about here, right?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Most laps.
Most laps led in one race. Just to warm you up for this one, 86 times in what's now the Sprint Cup Series, a driver has led every lap of the race.
86 times.
A lot of those happened at the little quarter-mile Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and a lot of those races were 100 or 150 lap affairs back in the 50s. In fact, Tim Flock did it 10 times, led every lap of the race. But it's only happened 3 times in the modern era. Jeff Burton at New Hampshire led all 300 laps. Cale Yarborough at Nashville led all 420 laps. And the one that's our answer, which we'll see in a minute.
Yeah. Now, you said about staying out. Remember when I told you somebody was in jeopardy going a lap down, which was the 99 car and a couple other cars that were right in that little cluster ahead of him? It made sense for them to stay out.
Track position.
This is what it takes if you have a bad qualifying run.
Looks like we're ready for our first clear to drive restart. Live, clear it, clear, indoors and out. 32 laps complete this time by the Ford Shelby Mustang, the 2010 version. Pulls off onto pit road. Here we go.
How do you know it's a 2010?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I do know. I will tell you. How about Dave Blaney? Driving for Prism Motorsports. He's up on the wheel and he's around off John Andretti.
Stay there. Stay.
I mean, the whole field is coming at that 66 car.
What did you say about Dave Blaney?
Left rear, sorry.
I said he was doing a great job.
He was, except John Andretti got in his way. Right here, John Andretti's a lap down from that wreck he had over there a while ago.
John's car just moved up the racetrack ever so slightly, just enough to get into that left rear quarter panel of Dave Blaney.
And I know Phil Parsons right now is about ready to be tied.
Well, this is interesting. Guess who gets the free pass?
John Andretti.
John Andretti. Yeah.
I know. I thought if you caused the caution, you couldn't get a. Well, I guess.
I don't know if it's if you caused it or a part of it.
The word is involved. And we are now told there will be no free pass. Justice is served. We'll be right back. Ready for the restart next time by. 1973. Cale Yarborough was up on the wheel. He led every one of the 500 laps here at Bristol.
What car was he driving?
Probably Junior Johnson.
It probably was.
Yeah. Ready to go green, single file restart, but for John Andretti, who's a lap down, and look at the moving conveyor belt.
This is what kills you. Single file restart essentially with 40 cars still on the lead lap. When Jimmy Johnson takes the green flag, you're still going to see cars coming in the frame on the backstretch. In fact, we've got cars that are back there like Scott Speed that's over a half a lap down on this restart.
Double foul right away. They're going to have to work their way past Andretti. Everyone else is on the lead lap except the 34.
I'll tell you that outside right now, though, is coming in. I tell you, and it's going to be. It's really going to make this race interesting because we see the 18 car there working the outside. Now he goes to the bottom.
Now, a couple of the cars that stayed out, Todd Bodine, the 64, and the 98 of Paul Menard, were not quite as quick as some of these leaders. So things may jam up a little bit here from about 7th on back.
Well, you really don't know how quick you are until you get up here like they are. Because when you're back in traffic, it looks like you can't go anywhere. You get up near the front where it's a little more clear sailing. Sometimes you got a better car than you think you do.
Kyle Busch coming to the front alongside Mark Martin, makes the pass, and he actually used the lap car of John Andretti as a pick to move up to 5th place.
Yeah, he's got the outside. It's really working for him. He got 2 tires. Looks like that's a hot tip to me.
I can't help but remember this is the 2nd anniversary of the debut of this new car with the wing on it, what we call the car tomorrow, now the car. And Kyle Busch won that very first race here back in March of 2007 driving for Hendrick Motorsports.
He's got Carl Edwards on the inside. Remember, Carl did not pit for tires under that caution.
See, right now you just, there's no reason to hold somebody up. The spotter, the crew chief, everybody's got stopwatches. 18's quicker than you are. Let him go.
And Carl Edwards has actually won the last 2 fall races here, and you see the biggest mover. And a big part of that is because Bob Osborne and Carl Edwards decided to stay out. But they have just not had their arms around this 99 car since the track opened for practice on Friday. Now he's going to lose another spot to our pole sitter, Mark Martin, in the 5.
Two back. Good job.
But just remember, he doesn't have tires. The other guys do, so he's going to pay a little bit of a price.
Yeah, I think what those guys that stayed out would love to see is maybe about a 30 or 40 lap run. Caution would come out, everybody would come back to pit road, and they'd gain their track position.
That's the gamble you take right now. Get me up there and let me see how many, how far we can go before we get past.
Brian Newman trying to make the move on Edwards for 6th place.
We do need to mention that Dave Blaney in that 66 car, who qualified in the 8th position, was involved in that last caution. Right now they are in the garage area trying to repair that car.
What makes this place so much fun is when you drive off in the corner here, you just kind of run down a hill and you just bottom the car out almost right in the center of the turn. Then when you turn and start up out of the corner, it just rocks you back in the seat, almost like riding a horse.
The right rear and the right front of the wall. I think I got the toe bump.
They're talking about Matt Kenseth, and here's what happened to him a lap ago on the front stretch.
Whoa. Got loose, corrected, hit the right rear, then hit the right front. Right now, Matt is back in the 33rd position.
It feels a little tighter.
All right, Kenseth's running 33rd. Dick Berggren.
He just is tight in the middle, Mike. He's been tight in the middle all day before the first caution period came out. He said that, like Biffle, they just couldn't get the car to turn in the middle, and that's now driven him into the wall.
And Darrell, what I would say, the car wouldn't turn. Then when he gets late exit, finally the front wheels were biting because he had the wheels turn and the back got loose.
I think exactly, but what I was listening to is the noise. I mean, we've got noise canceling headsets on those guys down there, and you still can barely hear.
That's the aggravation a crew chief has to go through.
Yeah, you got to fight that all day long. We're just getting started. Tell you a guy that's really hanging tough, Larry, is that 47 car. I was just looking at him, and Marcus Ambrose running 2nd and holding his own really well.
Boy, Denny Hamlin threaded the needle in the 11 to get through that pack. Nice job.
Denny's running in the 18th position, just went by Martin Truex Jr. in the 1.
3 wide into 3. Now Casey Kane tried to thread that same needle in the middle of turn 2, and they carried it 3 wide all the way down into 3 and got away with it.
Now on the old track, the next thing you would have said 3 wide, and the next thing you would have heard is cautions out.
Right.
And then the next thing you would hear, will it crank? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Without stopping for tires, Jimmy Johnson and Marcus Ambrose remain at the front of this field, along with Elliott Sadler in 4th and Carl Edwards in 8th. Everybody else in the top 10 has been in the pits at lap 28 and taken on at least 2 tires. "56 laps complete. Jimmy Johnson has led half of them." You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Get the checkered flag ready. I'm going to victory lane. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
We're under caution at Bristol with the Fred's Discount Stores Toyota of Todd Bodine all torn up. The accident not so much of his making. There is Bodine on the outside.
That's a 55, I believe, Michael Waltrip. He comes up into Todd, gets Todd into the wall, and then that's a chain reaction. The 8, the 2, and the 29, all with quite a bit of damage.
Here's a closer look at what happened at the contact.
Just Michael went clear of Todd, came up in front of him. Now you're going to see these guys. That's pretty heavy damage on both those cars. The 29 and the 2 both.
And looking back from Michael Waltrip.
Wow.
In the blink of an eye.
Yeah, and that 64
everything changes.
car, it hit hard down on that inside.
That was a hard lick.
Todd was 7th quickest in the first practice, had a good qualifying run for Larry Gunselman, and now they've got a wrecked race car.
But you're right, there was just so much chain reaction behind the 64 when he got into the wall. Now, pit road is closed right now because they've been trying to clean up the apron where the 64 car had landed there. Not sure if it's going to be open this time or not. It is. They are waving the green flag, so pit road will be open. And that may be about the right time for that caution for everybody to hit pit road. But, Darrell, it looks like the 48 is going to stay out again.
Wow, that's surprising right there. Now, we're at 63 laps. I would have come that time and done a little service on the car, a little tires, fuel.
Jimmy and Elliott Sadler in the 19 both stayed out. Steve Burns.
Mike, Ryan Newman saying his car has been snug in the center of the corners for the since the start of this race. Just a small air pressure adjustment, 4 tires for Ryan Newman.
Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola too fast exiting the pit.
We had about 10 cars that stayed out, and I think a couple of them were trying to get that track position like Jeff Burton had started in the back of the field. Matt.
It was 2 tires the last time in for Jeff Gordon, the 24 team. Steve Letarte calling for 4 this time. 21 green flag laps on that last set of right sides. Slight chassis adjustment. Taking some time, some lugs have fallen off on the front. He's going to lose a few spots here on pit road, Larry Mack.
I think I saw all types of different strategies. As I mentioned, 10 cars stayed out. I think we had several cars going with just 2 tires, and like Matt just reported, Jeff Gordon 4 tires.
So Jimmy Johnson stays on track, and so does Elliott Sadler in the 19, working without his usual crew chief, Kevin Buskirk, who has some kind of a digestive tract ailment. Robbie Loomis is on the pit box for Elliott today.
You're going to have to get a merge sign down there at the end of pit road.
Merging traffic?
Merge, because those guys come out there then. I think there were 8 of them trying to go across the line at one time.
But yeah, Mike, Jimmy Johnson, Elliott Sadler, is we're at lap 65, the 3rd caution. The 48 and the 19, they have not been to pit road since the start of this race.
Well, you know, Darrell's trademark line at the beginning of each race as they take the green flag. Mountain Dew came to Bristol and with Darrell Waltrip had a little bit of fun with his trademark phrase.
There's folks over here and they're going to do boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys! Boogie, boogity, boogity, let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys! Do I sound anything like these people? Boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys! Thanks, Darrell. How about another big hand for Darrell?
Well, the best contestants got the fans on their feet, just like DW did on race day when he wheeled the old number 11 Mountain Dew Buick to victory here at Bristol.
That was a cool thing to do. That was a lot of fun. And Mountain Dew people had a little stage set up back here, and we drew a crowd, man.
Lots of imitators, only one original.
Yeah, they were good though. I have to do that some more.
Looking at Marcus Ambrose, who will restart 11th.
I like what Frankie Kerr has done with this 47 car. You know, Marco started back in the 13th position. He was one of those cars that stayed out on that first caution, actually the first 2. And Frankie Kerr, the crew chief, brought him to pit road. Didn't really give up that many positions. They're going to restart in 11th after coming in 2nd.
Sterling Marlin got the free pass, so only John Andretti 1 lap down.
Oh, we're going to have a
restart.
New sheriff in town here very shortly.
A sheriff named Busch.
Uh-huh.
Kyle Busch in the 18 car moves up the racetrack, gets that run on the high side. I would say he'll take the lead probably when we get off of turn 2, maybe before turn 2.
Why wait?
Yeah, he's liking that outside. That is really, really working.
Go down here, quarter. You're clear right there.
Now, most likely, once he makes that pass, he'll back off a little and start running the bottom and just save a little time.
Well, that was his fastest lap of the race, Darrell. 16:01, coming on lap 69.
Yep.
Ambrose battling Casey Mears, and here's Denny Hamlin up in 11th place.
I think Hamlin is on his way to the front too. He's been working his way methodically. He's taking his time. He's going to be okay. Trying to get by the 07 here.
Now, Casey Mears in the 07 that we're looking at right there, that's one of those cars that stayed out on that last caution.
Denny Hamlin, like the rest of the Joe Gibbs drivers, have had no trouble leading laps here. It's hanging on to that lead and sealing the deal. As we told you at the top of the day, he's led the white flag lap here the last 2 years, but somebody else went to victory lane.
Yeah, our leader, he's sitting out there and leading the race now, and he did that yesterday for a long time until he had trouble in the pits. So he's right now saying his prayers, hoping he doesn't have any issues in the pits or anywhere else.
This is one racetrack you don't dare leave, even with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning.
No, sir.
Looking back at Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. He's running in the 14th position. Came to pit road and got those 4 tires, and he's working the high side with Carl Edwards in the 99 in tow.
Just got to be so careful when you're back here. You've got a fast race car. You just got to take your time, and that's where patience comes in. Got to be patient with the other guys. Not so much for you, but the other guys.
I'm still very impressed with the runs of Jimmy Johnson and Elliott Sadler. 75 laps in, neither one has been to pit road, but they're able to hold second and third, all because of track position. How about the 48, Krista?
Yeah, Mike, really, they said he's doing so well in holding his lap times. They feel like he'll be able to hold on even on those old tires. Right now, Jimmy's saying his car is just a little bit snug in the center and loose off, but he has never led more than 20 laps here. I think he likes being up front.
Yep. But what he better hope is that that little switch in there that flips when the tires go all at once doesn't happen before he gets in the pits and gets him 4 new ones, because that's exactly what happens. They're holding great, the car's handling good, and man, like you flip a switch, she goes off.
Well, he pretty much is holding station with Kyle Busch. That gap is remaining constant at 3/4 of a second. Johnson has led more laps today than in all his prior Bristol races combined.
Yeah, he said earlier that with all the starts he has here, one of only 6 tracks that he's not won at, that he felt like he was the biggest problem. He has not figured out how to run 500 laps from start to finish at this racetrack effectively.
9th place battle here. Darrell, you're right. Denny Hamlin did a very patient job of working his way up from 24th place to now the top 10.
Denny needs to win a race. I think it's really what he needs right now. He's just a little bit down because he hasn't been winning races. He needs to get himself pumped back up and a win and do that for anybody.
Greg Biffle running in 5th, challenging Mark Martin for 4th, and now Dick Berggren. Biffle's the new 4th place car.
Yeah, he's got a very good race car, Mike. Greg Biffle does, but he's less worried about the car than he is about himself. Earlier this week, he had an accident fishing, dangerous sport fishing, it turns out. He fell off his fish boat, landed on his back, tore the cartilage off several of his ribs, and he's a hurting guy. But moments ago, he radioed the crew and told them that although he is in pain, it's not getting any worse. The key for Biffle, do what Darrell said, be able to roll the thing on the truck at the end of the day. Biffle has finished all but 2 of the possible 6,010 Bristol Cup laps he has had a chance to run here.
And what he's talking about and what he's complaining about is usually after the race, not before. Those are kind of injuries you sometimes have when the race is over with.
But Darrell, when you're strapped down in that race car, especially if you've got a good race car like he has today, you kind of forget about those injuries or those things that might have been hurting you.
I agree to some extent, but rib injuries, I'm telling you, when you're leaning on that seat on that right side and you got ribs over there that are hurting, that'll catch up with you before the day's over with.
Toyota top performers, Kyle Busch out front, David Rudiman and Marcus Ambrose
you know,
both been strong here all week.
The flu or, you know, something like that, race car's good therapy. But broken ribs, race car not such good therapy.
You know, in Kyle Busch, he's already won 2 Camping World Truck Series races. He's won a Nationwide Series race. He won the Sprint Cup Series race at Las Vegas. He became the first driver in the history of NASCAR to win in all 3 series in the first 4 races of the season.
Wow. Well, he is setting a good pace here, because look on the left of your screen. There are some good cars that are now in the danger zone of going 1 lap down, because Kyle Busch is within a straightaway of the pack you see on your left.
And just remember that 17 car's been in the wall. That 2 car has been in a wreck. So those cars may be off the pace a little bit right now.
And then you saw Kyle Busch's teammate back there, Joey Logano, in that 20 car. He's in a couple of danger zones. Danger zone of going a lap down, as Chris Byers pointed out in the pre-race. Danger zone of being out of the top 35 when we leave here.
Now, that means when we go to Martinsville next week, he would have to qualify on time and not have a top 35 exemption.
Now, you want some bad news? The 29 was in a wreck. Got the whole right front fender torn up. You want some good news?
We're at Bristol.
It's at Bristol, and then they're going to make any difference. Actually, it's going to play to his advantage, because that tire is going to stay cooler. The buildup in that tire will take longer. That could be a plus for him as the day wears on.
Harvick works underneath Robbie Gordon.
See that tire sticking out there, getting that nice.
About 4 heavy, real slow on the top.
Nice little fresh air blowing on it.
And they're telling him about a slow car in the top lane. Harvick needs to get under Robbie Gordon, pin him behind Sterling Marlin. Didn't happen. Gordon got there first.
You know what? Kevin Harvick actually right there did a little give and take. And that's what you've got to do this early in the race, even when you're trying to fight to stay on the lead lap.
I think that 09 is headed to the garage.
Mark Martin, Carl Edwards fight for 12th place. Somebody's got into Mark a little bit in the left rear.
Casual contact.
That's all. Martin trying to be the first driver to win at Bristol from the pole since Rusty Wallace did it in 1999.
Mark would just like to be the driver of that 5 car that finishes a race.
Yeah, that's an awesome job. Way to stay patient.
Kyle Busch leads Jimmy Johnson by 1.2 seconds. When will Johnson pit? Stick around.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
Kyle Busch with a 2-second lead over Jimmy Johnson, David Rudiman, Greg Biffle, and Denny Hamlin's fought his way up to the top 5. But look at this. Clint Boyer in the 33 just finally busted through this pack and did it the hard way. Used up a good bit of bumper, but made it through.
But you'd never look. There's just a whole wad of cars right there. You didn't used to see that here.
No.
Everybody get down on the inside, run single file, but now you get behind these guys running side by side. Where are you going to go?
I think desperation is setting in with this group, because Kyle Busch in the 18 car is on the same straightaway as this group.
Somebody here has to make something happen. Back at 4th place, here comes Hamlin. Matt?
Mike, definitely on the move. When they restarted, they were back in 10th on lap 68. The only real issue he's had today, the water temperature was a little too warm. They took a piece of tape off. Like everyone else, a little tight through the center. Forward bite, though, still exceptionally strong, and it's showing it on the racetrack.
And nobody knows this better than our buddy and our partner over here, Darrell Waltrip. Where you beat people at Bristol is from the middle of the corner to the start-finish line. You don't beat them getting in the corner. And how about 3 wide with David screaming the 12 threading the needle there?
That's what I said. You got to make something happen.
There's the leader looking right there.
There's why. Look at the 18. He's the leader.
You got 2 guys in there for sure. The 29 to 17. They don't want to go a lap down right here. And Kevin Harvick in the 29 is trying to push through this mess.
Joey Logano, that is Busch's teammate, just ahead. And then Sam Hornish in the 77. Fastest car on the track right now is Hamlin. His lap times 1660s, low 1670s. Biffle right there with him. Joey Logano trying to stay on the lead lap just ahead of his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate. This is Logano's first Cup race at Bristol. Today's Home Depot Rookie File has Joey's impressions of Thunder Valley.
Yeah, I think you hold your breath around this place. You know, you get in the banking, and instead of it really throwing you to the right, it kind of sets you down into the race car, just because there's so much banking. So it's different. Obviously, I don't know what they were thinking when they thought of making this much banking with a half-mile racetrack, but it was a crazy idea, but it worked out awesome.
He is he was one position ahead of Scott Speed, still is. There's Speed to the right as Logano tries to keep from going a lap down.
Yeah, and if you don't like the racetrack, you better get over it, because they're not going to change it.
No.
we will continue to come here twice a year for many years to come.
You might as well get used to it.
Now, Busch is faster than Logano, no question. Trying to give his young teammate as much opportunity to stay on the lead lap as possible, because Kyle Busch still has a 2.5 lead to work with. Dale Earnhardt Jr. fought his way up into the top 20 after starting to the back with a transmission change. Steve?
Mike, he sure has. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying the car is tight, but it's not as bad as it has been, particularly over a long run. One adjustment they have made to that 88 car, Mike, they took a little tape off the nose on a previous pit stop, running just a little bit hot.
And that's one thing that used to really aggravate me. Everybody wants to put tape on the grill. Not on a short track, not here. You run too close to other cars. You don't need tape on the grill here.
And of course, the reason they put tape on the nose is to help that thing to turn. I always felt like this was a no tape racetrack.
You got it, buddy.
Now, Darrell, look at what Kyle Busch is doing. He continues to run even with Logano, so Joey's either on the lead lap or the 20 is in the free pass position, one lap down. How much can you help a teammate without hurting yourself here?
Well, when they tell you how close the 48 car is or the second place car, then you decide if you probably need to go on.
You know, as I watched those two rookies run there together, Joey Logano in the 20, Scott Speed in 82, Darrell, this had to be the worst year in the world to be a rookie in Sprint Cup Series. You know, you've got this new car that's fickle. You can't go really test it, and you just don't have any experience in any of these racetracks.
Yeah, I think that's probably the downside to no testing, is the fact that some of these guys who need laps on the racetrack, that's all Joey Logano needs. He needs laps. But he can't get them because they can't test.
We got
26
Jamie McMurray,
around.
the 26.
I think I saw that brewing.
Just trying to get her going here. Just got a little bit of damage on the rear there.
And the bad news for the Gibbs team may be that Kyle Busch had just passed Sam Hornish to put Hornish a lap down. So we'll see who gets the.
I think if we go back and look at this, we'll see some interesting development here.
Like
that.
Okay.
Juan Pablo Montoya, the 42.
That's just the start. That.
Yeah.
See, Juan Pablo is one of those guys, he's kind of like old school. You hit me once, I hit you twice.
Jamie was running in 9th place when this happened.
It's off turn 4, go down to front here.
This is the track where emotions flare.
Yeah. You know, that was, as I said earlier, that was casual contact. And we got the leader on pit road. Casual contact, you got to deal with that, not the way he did.
And this is the caution that Jimmy Johnson and Elliott Sadler needed, Dick Berggren.
And Greg Biffle needed it as well. The car is very close to just the way he wants it. Biffle has called for the changes he wants, which is to loosen it up just a little bit. Steve.
Track bar adjustment for Ryan Newman. He said the car was cutting just a little bit too good. 4 tires for the 39, Krista.
Jimmy Johnson making his first stop of the race. The car just a little bit snug. It will definitely be 4 tires for Johnson. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch saying he needs his car to turn just a little bit better in the center. Matt?
Impressive run so far by the 00 David Rudiman. Chassis adjustment. Says it just needs more help in the center of the corner. It's just too tight. If they can get that, they've really got something. Service complete, left around, finally left rear, and he's away.
Yeah, I think that was one of those cautions with coming about 60-something laps since we last were on pit road. Everybody went with 4 tires.
Boy, Jamie McMurray missed his pit. Wow. We're under caution at Bristol. Doubleheader action next week at Martinsville, Virginia, one of my favorite racetracks. The Camping World Truck Series on Fox, Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, and Sprint Cup Racing presented by the Home Depot, 1:30 Eastern Time next Sunday. Be there or be right here with NASCAR on Fox.
If they're not mad at each other after this one, I'm sure they will be after next week.
Another short track. We love it. Kyle Busch ready for the restart with Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin up to third, David Rudiman, and Marcus Ambrose hanging tough in fifth.
Yeah, you got to be lean and mean. If you're going to lean on people, you got to be mean.
Green flag. Juan Montoya not penalized but warned by NASCAR about aggressive driving.
Yeah,
and we're back under green.
That wasn't very nice.
Hamlin drag racing Johnson for second.
On the high side, and Rudiman up there in that 00 car, you can just get such a good run up there, and there's just good grip in that second groove. Again, now everyone is pretty much on equal terms as far as tires. Everyone came to pit road and got 4 tires on that caution.
And you have to love Chad Knaus. Stayed out, got the caution right when he needed it.
Watch Tony Stewart. He's kind of got himself boxed in here behind John Andretti, a car 1 lap down. And how's he going to get out of this one? Just like that. Move over, Jeff Burton. I'm coming.
Well, Jeff, he knows Jeff Burton will let him in. Now, Jeff Burton's one of the few guys I would try to squeeze in front of, but he would definitely let you in.
Boy, Burton there in the cat car just ahead of Carl Edwards was 32nd before he stayed out on the last caution, and he was up to 11th when this yellow flag flew, so he's coming to the front.
And that's their game plan. They do it every week.
Darrell, going back to Chad Knaus, and he doesn't like it that I believe I'm understanding this now, but if you look back at our FedEx Understanding the Race, the trends, on the average, the longest green flag run we have here is 98 laps. I'm telling you, Chad Knaus calls his race based on trends and patterns.
I totally agree.
What do they say over on Wall Street? The trend is your friend. Well, that was last year. Early last year.
I don't even.
Yeah,
why did you
mind.
Bring up Wall Street?
Didn't want to ruin your day.
I believe that 48 car, it took a few laps for the tires to come in on that car, because now he's back battling Denny Hamlin in the 11 back for second.
Kyle Busch gets to drive away from these two, and David Rudiman closes in on the battle for second.
But this is where Denny Hamlin needs to be smart. What are you racing for right now? I mean, racing's okay, but don't race him so hard. Give the man some room.
All right, 137 laps complete. Time for a good old NASCAR on Fox. Thunder Valley, crank it up.
Let's bust some wind.
Busch is a runaway train. 16:30s. That makes him the quickest car on the racetrack right now. He's opened up a 2.5-second gap on Jimmy Johnson, who kind of has a rearview mirror filling up with Denny Hamlin and David Rudiman.
Did you see all that fire coming out of that 83 car? Fire breathing, splitter dragon, winged monsters going around here.
Bristol stomping.
You got it.
But the thing about Kyle Busch, that 18 car, give him about another 6 to 8, maybe 10 laps. He'll be catching a lot of desperate people at the back of the pack.
Boy, Jamie McMurray has been in the wall again. You'll see it from Kevin Harvick's point of view. Watch the Irwin car.
I think it's that car that Biffle had at Atlanta.
Car just had that four-wheel drift. Now, Jamie, even after being involved in that caution back on lap 123 with the spin, he's still on the lead lap.
His first few cars just look so good. Come up off the corner, they're not sliding the back tires. Things really are handling at 18, 48.
Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR, wants you to know who ran the first sub 15-second lap at Bristol. While you're at Ask.com, enter the NASCAR Challenge to win daily prizes or a trip to Talladega.
He got our attention that day.
Yes.
He did it.
That's something I never thought I'd see in my life.
148 laps complete. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. right behind Elliott Sadler, 17th and 18th. And Kurt Busch running right with Earnhardt. Can't make the pass that time. And again, Earnhardt dives to the bottom. Battling for 17th. Remember, he started 41st, took the green flag 41st. After that transmission change.
Just listen to how you're not in the gas hardly any time at all here. Off the corner and halfway almost down the straightaway, you're out of the gas.
I just believe if that 88 car can get up there with those guys running at the front, based on what we saw in practice, and that's how far he's behind the leader, I think he can be a contender.
Kyle Busch about to cap some lap traffic. How will they factor in?
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing is sponsored by Ask.com. Where do NASCAR fans get answers? Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. By AT&T, your world delivered. And by Lowe's, for all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, let's build something together.
162 laps complete. Kyle Busch in the 18 has been fighting his way through traffic that he is putting a lap down. And a couple of times I thought we'd have a caution pretty well just in front of him. So what's Kyle thinking about as he's working lap traffic? We listened in.
Just keep track of the race. I think we're pretty good here for a while. You know, pay attention to what the 48's saying, what the 11's saying. You know, second, third, fourth. We can keep up with what they're doing. Yeah, 10-4. We do it.
Now, the reason he says we're real good, we're okay right here now, this racetrack is notorious for rubber building up on top of it. And the rubber will actually turn into little wads. And when you run across them, sometime it'll start to chatter your tires loose. So he wants to be sure that they stay on top of what other guys are saying about the track.
A couple of cars they want to stay on top of. Those two cars right there, David Rudiman in the 00, Marcos Ambrose in the 47th. That's 4th and 5th right there. Great run for these two guys. Rudiman has had a fast race car here all weekend long in the 00.
Really has, and Marcos is just doing a wonderful job today in that 47 car.
Yeah, the Australian's a nice surprise up here in the top 5. In fact, Toyota has 4 of the top 5 spots. Every car in the top 5 but second place Jimmy Johnson is a Toyota.
And of course they're missing their normal gas man on that 47 car, but I noticed on their pit stop they got in and out of the pits right with the leaders, so they're not hurting.
Kevin Harvick in the 29 about to surrender a lap to Kyle Busch. Or is he? Krista's in the leader's pit.
Yeah, you heard the radio communication, Kyle saying keep an eye on the 11 and the 48. Just after that, he actually added another car. He said, I want to add the 00. He may be the car as he actually gets passed for a position, but Kyle said the 00 may be a car to watch besides us.
I definitely believe those two Michael Waltrip cars there we just talked about, Rudiman and Marcos Ambrose's two cars, that they're going to have to keep a watch on.
Matt?
And the 47 of Marcos Ambrose running in the 4th position. He made a comment earlier that he felt like that the car, although it was tight in the middle, it wasn't bad, but it was a little loose. He called it a lazy loose. And what they told him, his spotter said, try to dime in the corner to try to help your exit and your forward bite. And you can see he's definitely doing that, and it's picking up the times.
And Matt, you can do that as long as you're not really battling someone. If you do that with someone behind you, they will root you out of the way and they will freight train you.
Yeah, you're right. But lazy loose, what he's saying is it's just kind of slowly stepping out. It's not really scaring him. Snap loose is what you don't want.
That's 4th and 5th place. Now Jeff Gordon is stuck in the middle with John Andretti up high, Montoya on his tail, and he had David Reagan in the UPS Ford just ahead. That was a wad that now seems to sort itself out just a little bit, Matt.
And one comment that Jeff Gordon made, Mike, under the last caution to Steve Letarte, he said simply that the car is tight and free on exit, but his biggest issue, he said, is that nobody can really pass. They'll give you the bottom, but you can't clear the other drivers, so that's why you're seeing more guys run a half a lane up or a lane up from the bottom.
And we're seeing that right now with Kyle Busch. He is working. He finally gets by Kevin Harvick, but he almost lost it off of 4 last time by trying to get by Paul Menard in the 98 car.
Tell you what, Harvick is not going to give up in that 29 car. He is trying desperately to be the first car a lap down.
Watch this. 98 car Paul Menard, he gets Kyle pinned down on the bottom, and man, whoa. That's not lazy loose right there.
No, not that. Ryan Newman is back up to 6th place.
Great qualifying run.
Yep.
Good practice yesterday. Second quick in the second practice.
And led 25 laps early in this race, Steve.
Mike, early in this race, he was tight in the center. Ryan Newman just telling his crew that he's got now just a little bit loose off.
That's kind of the trade-off. Driver complains about being tight in the middle, so you take wedge out. Now driver's loose off.
Kyle Busch continuing to try to work race traffic. Took him a long time to get past Paul Menard with 179 laps complete in the Food City 500 at Bristol.
We're live at Bristol and our AT&T Race Break Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. You can vote from your AT&T phone. Text the car number for the crew you think will be the best. Fan vote along with Jeff Hammond determines the winning crew each week. And we are under caution. Moments ago, Jamie McMurray having some problems. That is our 5th caution of the race.
Now, it's the 4th caution of the race, but he had a little bit of help on that right there. It looked like he got in the wall right there, and then all of a sudden he gets down here to the corner, almost saves it, and all of a sudden Sam Hornish comes in there, and they get together, and this time around Jamie goes, almost the same place it was before. Keeps it off the outside safer barrier, but looks like he'll get 4 good years and come back around and regain the battle, Chris.
Pit road is open. Kyle Busch leading Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin as the caution flew out. Let's check in as we see the leader there with Dick Berggren. Dick?
Craig Biffle had dropped back to the 9th position. He's mostly worried about his drink bottle that's not working. They're going to make this a 2-tire change, so this is going to be a quick one for sure. Steve?
Dick, Ryan Newman just told his crew, led by Tony Gibson, the longer I run, the looser I get. They'll get 4 tires, but also a wedge adjustment in the left rear for Ryan Newman. Krista?
Chad Knaus told his driver, Jimmy Johnson, you are killing these guys in traffic. They are coming in for a 4-tire change. Meanwhile, the 18 of Kyle Busch said, and I quote, all is good. All I need are 4 tires. Matt?
Pitting just past start finish is Denny Hamlin in the 11. Closing in on the year anniversary of his last win, 35 races today. Track bar adjustment going down. The car starting to lose grip. He also said that on the short run it chatted the right rear. Lugs are going on, and he is away. Chris?
And prior to that, it was our longest current green flag stretch of racing, 57+ laps. The race off pit road, you see sustaining the lead, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, but Jeff Gordon, who was moving up anyway, picking up 3 spots.
Well, the 18 car had a little problem with the jack. They were able to kind of like hold serve and still come off pit road first. But look down in the 9th position. There's the 39 of Ryan Newman, been making his way up through the field. He had problems on that pit stop, and he has one of the premium pits on the pit road, but they had a problem on the right rear. The guy had to stay there and put a lug nut on it, and it cost him dearly. Now he's lost 4 spots. He's got to do it all over again.
And if you want to vote for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew, text from your phone. Jeff's pick and yours vote each week for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. You know, last year's race at Bristol, we actually only had 2 that were actually one did not finish the race already. 4 drivers, 4 cars are out of the race. Kurt Busch, last week's winner, involved in a wreck early with Kevin Harvick, who of course won the nationwide race here yesterday. We're live, NASCAR on Fox from Bristol, Tennessee.
Getting ready for the restart. Kyle Busch has led 122 of 194 laps, and he's out front as they get the green.
Just an update on Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Krista was talking about them changing 2 tires at the last minute. Greg Irwin, the crew chief, called an audible, went with 4 tires like everyone else after 60 laps since the last caution.
Good audible.
Day for Toyota so far. 4 of the first 7 spots with Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Marcus Ambrose, David Rudiman.
I'll tell you, I'm pretty impressed with Marcus Ambrose today. I mean, he is on it. He's trying to put a nose up under Jeff Gordon there and get by him right now.
Casey Mears, the 07, a lap down. Denny Hamlin, the 3rd place car in the 11.
Might be in the little Debbie's car today, but he's playing big with the big boys right now.
Yes, he is. Yeah, pretty impressed with his run. We talked about David Rudiman, his teammate back there in 7th, and Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car, still solidly in the top 10 after qualifying 12th.
Marcus has an auction going on to benefit the volunteer fire departments in his native Australia fighting the bushfires. Go to marcusambrose.com for details, and maybe next week we'll have a chance to show you some of the neat stuff that he is doing to try to help. Kyle Busch, your leader as we cross the 200 lap mark in Bristol.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the Home Depot, proud sponsor of Joey Logano and the number 20 team. By 12 Rounds, starring John Cena, Friday only in theater. And by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff.
Well, Kyle Busch picking up just where he left off, running off from the field while it's still very close quarters all the way back through, as we have 27 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, but there's some good. I mean, the 48's just kind of lurking not too far back and keeping pace pretty well with the 18 right now.
And we got a pretty good battle right now back for the 12th position between Carl Edwards and the 99. And how about Travis Kvapil in that 28 car? He qualified in the 17th position. He's battling Carl Edwards. In our news and notes in the pre-race show, talked about Travis Kvapil losing his ride. I'd more like to phrase it that I think they're going to be closing that team down due to lack of sponsorship. It's not like Travis Kvapil is going to be replaced.
Yeah. With Travis, it's no dough, no go.
There you go.
That's it. Dick Bergman?
Yeah, Larry's got it exactly right. If they don't come up with a sponsor between now and Martinsville, the team is gone. The crew chief, Ben Leslie, has a job. He works for the Ford Motor Company, but everybody else will go unemployed. And so just as the race began, here's what Travis Kvapil said to his team. This is our last race here, and we need to show them how bad we want to race this year. Perhaps if they have a terrific run, somewhere along the line, somebody might see the value of sponsoring this number 28 car, and they can go to Martinsville and beyond. That is their desire.
I think they're missing the boat. If a company doesn't come on board with that car with Travis Kvapil and Yates Racing, I think they're missing the boat. There's Marcos Ambrose. He just drives by the 24 car of Jeff Gordon. That moves him up to the 4th spot.
Now, we've talked about this as one of the Michael Waltrip's cars, and they have an affiliation with Michael Waltrip Racing, but the car is owned by Jody and Tad Geschechter and Brad Doherty, former NBA All-Star and now a part of the ESPN broadcast team. Doherty finished 2nd last night in his celebrity race as part of the Scott Saturday night special, and had a blast doing it. So a great weekend all the way around for this team.
And Frankie Kerr, the crew chief on that car, he was over there with Rudiman for a while with Michael, and he's a good crew chief. He knows how to get a car set up for these kind of racetracks.
40 laps to halfway.
You know, this car here, Darrell, Kurt Busch and the 2-car Pat Tryson, what a great recovery they've made. Remember, they were involved in that chain reaction back on lap 59 when Todd Bodine wrecked on the front straightaway. They've stayed on the lead lap, and now, Steve, they have worked their way almost to the top 15 up in 16th.
Larry, it's like you guys said, you don't have to have a pretty car to win here. What Kurt's fighting right now, though, is they don't have a lot of grip, and that's what they worked on in the last pit stop.
They've definitely made a nice recovery with that 2-car, a place that he's won 5 times here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Those first 4 cars are just back to Jeff Gordon, actually. They're matching lap times. They're 16:40s, and there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 one way or another, but pretty much matching lap times right now.
500 laps at Bristol. Jeremy Mayfield once described it as going around in a closed drive for 3 hours and somebody loses a sock or 2. But as these drivers approach today's race, what do they think of going 500 laps at this place?
When a race starts, you're not thinking about the 500 lap. You're thinking about the first lap and taking care of business right now.
If you go into it thinking 500 laps, it just makes for a miserable day because it takes, it seems like it takes forever.
I remember I think it was the first Cup race I ran here, one of the first Cup races. Man, I was driving my guts out, and Bobby Hudson was spotting for me. He said, "All right, that's 200 down, 300 to go." I thought, you gotta be kidding me, man.
That's where we are right now. 217 of 500 laps complete.
And then the thing about racing here now with this new racetrack configuration, don't get that many cautions. We do a lot of green flag racing, and man, that will get to you. That will wear you out.
I'm hesitant to say it, but this is about the time of the race we get those long green flag runs.
Yeah, everybody's kind of adjusted up, kind of know what they got. You've learned to kind of deal with it, whether it's a little loose, a little tight. And so now you just put some laps in.
Now, that's a car we've not talked a lot about. Clint Boyer in that 33 car right now. He's up in the 14th position. Clint qualified in the 31st position, but didn't qualify on Friday. It's like the racetrack for the first 10 or 12 cars was just very slick. Clint Boyer's had a fast race car in every single practice.
Yeah, he had a bad qualifying draw, but I watched him through the first 100 laps there. Very aggressive, trying to work his way through traffic and get up to a place where he can run the car at his own pace without being in constant side-by-side traffic.
You know, on the old racetrack, there were all kinds of...
Oh, boy.
Look out.
Wow, another. That's about the third thread-the-needle job by Boyer.
On the old racetrack, there were all kind of excuses for running over each other. Actually, on this track, there are no excuses for running over each other. You got a lot of room to operate here. We've seen 3 wide, a lot of passes, easy to get around here now.
Back up front, Kyle Busch has opened up 1.9 seconds on Jimmy Johnson. But as Darrell pointed out, they continue to run virtually identical lap times.
Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
Here's our UPS Maximum Performance. Think of Bristol as Circus Maximus. And DW is the track's all-time winning driver with 12 victories here, 7 consecutive wins at Bristol. So, Darrell, we're coming up on halfway. What does a driver have to do to achieve UPS maximum performance here?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most obvious thing I could say, and that's first you got to finish. That's the biggest thing you got to consider when you come here. And the other thing is keep your car all intact. Don't tear your car up. If you saw my car, almost after every one of those wins didn't have a scratch on it. So you pick your times, pick your places, pick your fights. Be there at the finish.
And there's the all-time win list. Kurt Busch and Jeff Gordon with 5 apiece, the leading active drivers.
You know, Mike, when I looked at Darrell's numbers, obviously 12 wins at one racetrack is impressive, but to me it supports what he was talking about. Always drove his car to the truck after the race. How about 26 top 5 finishes for DW here?
Wow. Greg Biffle, we're told, having some trouble here. Dick?
Yeah, Biffle is losing positions, Mike, and it has something to do with his health. The right rear tire on that car, he says, is going soft.
You know, as we're approaching about 11 laps from halfway, there was a little concern about the right rear tire here. There were some cars in practice yesterday that made some 30 and 40 lap runs, and there was a little bit of hazing, a little bit of wear on the outside of the right rear. They felt like the Nationwide Series 300 lap race would improve that with the rubber going down.
That's why I was talking to, I was trying to get Krista down there to see the 48 cars tires, because, you know, he ran 120 some laps on that one set of tires. You're right, we were seeing some wear on the edges of the tires in practice.
Now Biffle continues to run 13th. One driver who was up in the top 10 and has now slid back to 20th is Tony Stewart. What's up with Tony, Dick?
Well, Mike, he came in as one of the favorites to win the race because he has led so many laps here. The last 3 spring races, he has led 51% of all possible laps, even though he has not won here since since 8 years ago. But he has been struggling with the race cars. Stewart says the car is just fine in the middle of the corners, but coming off, it just is too loose. And they've been working on it, and on the last pit stop, they took a long time to make major adjustments to the number 14 car. It doesn't seem to have helped. He hasn't picked up the positions that they hoped he would.
See, Darrell, Mike, that was the characteristics in yesterday's Nationwide Series race. They ran the same tire that the Sprint Cup Series runs. This track got looser. It did not get tighter as the race went on.
Now on the right, you see Jimmy Johnson trying to battle Michael Waltrip and Denny Hamlin closing in. What about the 48's tires, Krista?
Yeah, you guys were talking about that. You know, it's exactly what I asked Chad Knaus this morning about the tire situation. He said he wasn't concerned about it because here the hot temperatures really don't come out till about 4 o'clock. He said in practice they didn't have any problem because they weren't up to temperature. I just went down and asked Lisa Smokestad, the tire specialist for the 48. She said even with that long run, they have absolutely no tire problems.
Which is typical for most racetracks we go to. NASCAR depends, boy.
Hey, be smart.
No kidding, that wasn't.
That's Curtis Markham, Denny Hamlin's spotter, just telling him, hey, we're halfway. Be smart here.
I got to tell you, you
Let's
back up.
This up
I was going to say,
yeah,
I bet if you back
go.
up, there's a reason for what happened. And there it is.
Coming off turn 2, little.
And Denny's saying, you know, what are you doing? Where are you going?
Yeah, because Hamlin was trying to be cautious, lapping Bobby Labonte, and Marcus wanted to go, and now they're side by side. This is for 3rd place. Matt?
The Ambrose and Hamlin teams, Mike, are pitted next to each other on pit road, and Mike Ford looked down to the 47 pit box, pointed to his head. Everybody acknowledged the same exact thing. Too early to be racing like that. Everyone's got to think, just like what Curtis Markham told Hamlin.
Well, and right now, the smartest thing the 47 can do, he doesn't have to pull over and just say, okay, you can have the spot. But the 11 is obviously quicker. He was going to spin him around if he doesn't let him get by.
Ooh, a little contact there?
No, they'll have more because it's just not necessary.
No, I guess not. Just
there
close.
You go. Now, that's all you have to do.
Right.
Run up the hill, let the man go by. Now, follow him.
Got a long way to go.
How come I, you know,
you make it sound so easy.
They just need to stand up here for a little while. It's the blind obvious, I reckon.
You know, Darrell, I think you and I have been watching the same car here for the last few laps. A guy that's kept his nose pretty clean. Casey Kane in that 9 car qualified in the 5th position. He moved up into the top 12 in points after Atlanta by finishing 7th. He's just had a nice, clean, quiet race so far,
Yes,
Darrell.
he has. I've been watching him, and the car is very steady, very consistent.
Krista has more.
Clean, quiet, and solid. Casey Kane, the condition with his car from center off has kind of changed throughout the race, but really he's been loose in the entire race. They've attacked that with air pressure adjustments, and it's starting to come around. Casey Kane currently 7th on the track.
And you know, Larry, this is the first time he's been in the top 10 in points since August of last year.
And look who he's chasing. Montoya, Jeff Gordon, the 24, Marcus Ambrose, and the 11. That's all for position. That's 3rd through 7th right there.
Right there with him.
Now they're about 2.5 seconds behind leader Kyle Busch, but just 1.1 back of 2nd place Jimmy Johnson. 256 complete in the Food City 500.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is delivered by UPS, official delivery company of NASCAR, and proud sponsors of David Reagan and the number 6 Ford Fusion.
266 laps complete. Kyle Busch still your leader. April 11th, Fox Saturday Baseball returns with some of the game's greatest traditional rivalries. Red Sox at Angels on April 11th, Colorado at the Dodgers on the 18th, and the Yankees at Boston April 25th.
Hard to believe baseball season is here.
They beat on baseballs, we beat on race cars with bats.
Kyle Busch at 269 laps has led nearly 200 of them, and he has put half the field a lap down. Tony Stewart is the last car on the lead lap in 21st.
We still have 39 cars still on the racetrack. The cars that are out of the race: Sterling Marlin, Joe Nemechek, Todd Bodine, and Dave Blaney.
And when you look at the racetrack, you're never in clear sailing. You always are in traffic. You see that the 18 car, Kyle, is coming up on the back of his teammate, or on the back of Tony Stewart in the 14 car. There's cars all the way around the racetrack. You're constantly working traffic.
Well, this is the longest green flag run we've had. We've been running now for 72 laps, close to 75 laps on the green.
Tony Stewart last year led half the laps, now in danger going a lap down, but with a different team. Here is Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has fought his way from 42nd at the green flag up to 17th. Steve?
Mike, as you said, he had made a lot of progress, but it seems as he's hit a brick wall. He told crew chief Tony Uri, something must be wrong with the air pressures, Tony Jr. The car is too tight to start, and it just won't go anywhere.
And you know, this is kind of what plagues the 88 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Uri Jr. They either don't adjust enough or they over-adjust. They have a tough time seemingly keep up with the racetrack for a 500-lap race.
Now he is 3 seconds, plus a lot of cars in between, from going a lap down. So should be able to stay on the lead lap.
And Mark Martin said something interesting the other night. He said, you know, we try setups. We got four cars to pull off of. Mine, Jeff's, Jimmy's, and Dale Jr.'s. I try all their different setups, and I actually ended up liking Jeff Gordon's setup the best. Now, in my mind, if I was the 88 car and I had a teammate that had a car that was running like that 24 is, you know, I would pull off of that information and apply it to my car. I just don't know if they're doing that or not.
But you know, we're seeing, I think, this racetrack go through some changes right now as we're approaching the 300-lap mark, and that's exactly what Kyle Busch was talking about when he talked to Steve Addington earlier. Keep up with what other guys are doing, what other teams are doing, adjusting their car.
Now this is tricky because Busch is trying to lap Stewart and the 19 of Elliott Sadler, who are running different lines, and then there's Hornish, who's already a lap down. You got to pick your way through here pretty carefully.
And you do, and it's been some time. I can't tell you how long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when you could see cars running up around the top of the racetrack the way they are here this weekend.
2-2, just 2.
I mean, Tony is desperately now trying to stay the first car a lap down. Should we get that caution, he would get the free pass and be back on the lead lap.
Ryan Newman started this race on the outside pole, but he's in 10th place right now. Steve?
Mike, he's lost some positions here recently. He said his car's gotten loose, but he's also a little concerned. He said he feels a vibration in the right front. He's heard it for about the last 15 laps.
And what's not good about that? That's one of the cars in the danger zone. They come in here 32nd in the points, only 47 points to the good inside the top 35.
Battling David Gilliland in the 71. Gilliland 2 laps down. Kyle Busch continues to add to his lap leading total here at Bristol.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race.
291 laps complete. Kyle Busch trying to put a lap on Elliott Sadler in front of an nearly packed house here at Bristol Motor Speedway. In fact, Sadler figures in our Ford drive one moment for today, because in the spring of 2001, Elliott Sadler earned his first career Cup victory right here at Bristol. He was driving for the storied Wood brothers and drove his number 21 to victory lane in front of another famous number, the 43, owned by Richard Petty. By starting 38th and going to victory lane, he has won from the furthest starting position at Bristol. Want to win a Ford Fusion? Log on to WeRaceYouWin.com and see how.
His crew chief that day was Pat Trison, who crew chiefs with Kurt Busch. It was their first career wins as a driver and a crew chief that day.
And the first in a long time for the Wood brothers as well. Now, we had a great battle going on between Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 and Jeff Gordon in the 24. But Matt Gordon has dropped back a bit. What's up?
And the comers and goers, he's going. The last stop, he said the car was snappy loose. But his most recent report, when he was running fifth back on lap 280, the Steve Letarwood says the car started off very loose and now it's very tight. Now he just said about a lap ago that it's extremely plowing. He's just holding on until their next stop so they can try to make a track bar adjustment and fix it.
Kind of makes you think maybe the right.
I have a problem. Get ready.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the right front tire's going down. If the car changes that quickly, it makes me believe there's something going on with the right front tire.
But now he's up in the high lane. He's going to have to first get to the bottom to be able to get to pit road.
Seems like it's gone.
He's either worn it out or it's going flat.
And we've now been 100 laps into this run. Remember, Jeff Gordon is our points leader.
Longest green run of the day. Now remember, under caution, everyone enters the pits off turn 2.
Don't come the whole pit road.
There you go,
As
Mike.
I was about to say.
It's a different format under green.
You can pit on the side where your pit stall is. You don't have to go all the way around if you pit under green.
And they remember that car at Daytona had a little bit of a camber issue, was wearing out the inside of the tire. That camber makes the car turn really good, but it's hard on the tire.
So for now, Jeff Gordon continues in 8th place.
Yeah, we're about 30 to 35 laps away from what would be a scheduled green flag stop, and it's not unusual to have a green flag stop at Bristol.
Nope, not anymore. That's a good heads-up call on Steve Letard's part, though, to remind him that if it's under green, come off of turn 4.
Jeff Gordon is one of those drivers that's made that mistake before.
And somebody asked me how that could happen, and I told him, I said, you just get you a big old rock and tie it on the end of a rope and go out in the yard and spin around for about 5 minutes. And then when they tell you to come to the house, you stop and say, where is it?
Yeah. Ask.com asks you to ask, what car manufacturers won the most races here? Get the answer now at Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. Eric Almirola in the 8th brushed, I believe he brushed the wall in 1 and 2.
I think you're right.
A lap ago. And now Greg Biffle does have a big problem, Dick.
Yeah, he's lost a cylinder in the engine, Mike.
And this is normally a place the engine guys are just not very nervous. Darrell pointed it out early. Yeah, you turn a lot of RPM, but he just goes up there and just spikes for a second.
Look at the 42 looking in to get past Biffle. When Paulo Montoya had an interesting line in practice, he was running the track a little differently from everybody else. Perhaps that's his road racing and Formula One background. But he's been very competitive here today. And in 12 short track races, though, he only has one top 10 finish. That came at Martinsville in the fall of 2007. But Montoya has really been up on the wheel of that target car today.
Good job.
Got a good car.
Tell you what, our little pole sitter, Mark Martin, in that 5 car, he kind of fell out of the picture for a little bit after leading the first couple of 3 laps, but he has worked his way now solidly back into the top 10. In fact, he just goes by his teammate Jeff Gordon, and that's for 8th. Matt.
And Larry Mack, the 5 car, Mark Martin, riding along, he says at this juncture, his biggest issue is the car was good for a very long time, but now it's slowly starting to go pushy in the center of the corner. He wants a small air pressure adjustment when they make their next stop. He doesn't want to take a real big swing at it and maybe knock themselves the wrong way as far as the handling department goes. They're very close. Right now, he's just riding.
And just FYI, what happens to a driver is he'll fight that wheel early in a race. He'll deal with some issues in the car early in a race. But as fatigue sets in, start to get tired, your arms get a little weary, the car has to, all of a sudden you start complaining the car's not handling.
A lot of times it's you're the one that's not doing your job because you're just kind of getting tired.
But didn't you run cross country back in high school?
Oh,
a
yeah.
little track.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you always come out of the blocks blazing? And it took you a while before you eased back a bit and realized, hey, this is a long race.
Yep.
You run cross country?
I did.
I'm impressed.
They told me a hubcap and holler police, and I was out of here.
Car in the wall, turn 1, David Gilliland. He's going to straighten it out, though.
And he'll get to the bottom, and we stay green, so he'll make it to pit road, it looks like.
Oh, that was a close one.
He was running 3 laps down with his 71 car, and I think our 88 car just went a lap down to leader Kyle Busch.
Yes, he did. Look at Denny Hamlin catching his teammate and race leader Kyle Busch.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by McDonald's. By FedEx Racing, we understand every day is race day. By Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic, our ultimate clean, your ultimate feeling. And by Lowe's, for all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, let's build something together.
Brian Vickers cuts down a tire, puts us under caution. Pit road is open, and here they come with a new leader, Denny Hamlin. Dick.
David Stremme is into pit. He started 29th. He's moved up to 15th. Roy McCauley told him he's doing a good job, but so did the captain, Steve.
Brian Newman getting loose. They've just dropped the track bar. 4 tires. Krista.
A little bit loose for the 48 also. They are making a track bar adjustment, and for Kyle Busch, just a puff of air out of the tires. Matt.
Drivers talk about how the track is starting to change. They're going to creep down the track bar a quarter round again on the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Chris?
Time for an AT&T race break, and from your phone, text the car number for the pit crew you think will be the fastest and most valuable in the race, 2258, the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award, delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. Moments ago, we had a lead change. Now, for a while, Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson have been running 1-2, and those two have combined to win 15 of the last 33 Cup races. But here, as you watch Gibbs' teammates, Jeff Hammond, go at it, that's Kyle in the 18, Denny in the 11.
Coach threading the needle right here, bounces off the 17 of Matt Kenseth. Right here, Denny Hamlin's side, he wants to lead, and he drives it on the outside around his teammate. A little bit of a roadblock, maybe about a rookie right there, Joe Logano, but eventually Denny Hamlin does take the lead away from Kyle Busch.
So we have now 9 lead changes, 7 different leaders, and Kyle Busch has dominated early on in the first 100 laps. It was Jimmy Johnson who has yet to win a race here, even though he has been a short track wizard. So we again are under a caution flag. From the Hollywood Hotel, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers. Hope you're enjoying NASCAR on Fox from Bristol. We haven't quite seen the temper. We had Juan Pablo Montoya having a little bit of fun. Some people have had scrapes with the walls, but so far the temper is under control. Patience for the most part.
All right, how far are we into this race right now, Chris? We got about 180 laps to go. Guess what? The water is getting ready to be turned up. I mean, the stove is going to get warmer. It's going to start to boil over. We're probably going to see some stuff start happening now.
Now let's do a quick recap because things got started in a hurry. John Andretti, hang on. You know that banking, and banking's an adventure no matter where you are these days. Kurt Busch, last week's winner. Kevin Harvick and a Todd Bodine wreck get into it. Then Kyle Busch here taking the lead. This was on lap 69. Jimmy Johnson had led the first 41 laps of the race. And here's Juan Pablo Montoya. This is maybe as close to the overheating as we've seen. Tap once and tap twice. He got a warning from NASCAR, but
goes down to give Jamie McMurray a little love tap right there. Says, don't do that again, Nelson. I'm telling you. Round it goes.
Not get the punishment. So let's talk about Jimmy Johnson, who has yet to win here, but certainly has been a short track king.
Yeah, he's been a short track king, but right now he's probably the best car we've seen him, at Bristol in quite a while. He has an opportunity right now. He's leading Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, but for Jimmy Johnson, he's going to have his hands full, I think, with the 2 Toyotas, the 11 and 18 of Kyle Busch, because they have definitely been the cream of the crop as far as that's concerned.
And Denny Hamlin, 34 races since his last win. It was Martinsville last year. From your AT&T phone, text the car number 2258. The fastest pit crew of the year award delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network.
174 laps to go, getting ready for a restart. Here's Jeff Hammond with today's State Farm Safety Report.
In the past, we've talked about safety as it comes to tires, as far as the interliners and how important they are to the race car. But what about what holds the tire to the car itself? The rim, the wheel, if you want to say it, steel construction, 5 lug nuts. All of this right here is 15-inch design is because NASCAR understands that these cars, especially the right front, they're seeing 4,000 pounds of load when they enter the corner. So that's the reason why NASCAR and SFI work together to make sure they've got the proper wheel for the safe condition.
Thanks, Jeff. Getting set for the restart. That's the 2010 Ford Shelby GT500 at the front of the field. Now, that was supposed to pace the race at Las Vegas, and everybody on the Shelby website said, no, that was a 2009, not a 2010. This is a 2010. Look at the grill, Darrell. That's how you can tell. Traditionally, the Cobra Snake is on the driver's side of the grill. For 2010, that's where the engine fresh air intake is. They had to move the Snake over to the right. This is a 10. That was a 9.
Mike, I love you, man.
Jimmy Johnson at the front of the field after pit stops. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Marcus Ambrose, and Casey Kane are the front 5.
You see Matt Kenseth on pit road. He has a broken front splitter. That's the reason he had to make that extra pit stop.
All right, we're back under green in the Food City 500 at Bristol. Working around the lap car of Michael Waltrip. A lot of pit road speeding penalties in that exchange. Greg Biffle, Michael Waltrip, Reed Sorensen, and Eric Almirola.
This one it gets a little bit interesting right here with these lap down cars now. All down on the inside. Everybody kind of rooting and gouging, trying to make a little room so they can make a little move forward, maybe get the lucky dog. A lot happening right here at this point in the race.
I agree with Jeff Hammond, though. I think this is where they're going to start to ramp it up just a little bit. We got 170 laps to go. As we say, business really about to pick up.
And I just can't stress enough. And folks, I'm sure if you work out at all, you know what I'm talking about. These guys have been out there now 330 laps. You get a little bit tired. You get a little bit, your focus is off just a tad from the beginning of the day. That's why you have to really stay up on the wheel.
Kurt Busch battling David Reagan and trying to stay up in that high lane and move around some of the lap down cars. Kurt is 12th, Jeff Burton just ahead. Last year's winner here is 11th.
You know what I mean about business picking up? We're at lap 333. Jimmy Johnson just ran his fastest lap of the race, as well as Marcos Ambrose in the 47 car back and forth. You know, that was the longest green flag run that we have had at 124 laps. The reports from the top 3, the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, the tires look good. On the 11 of Denny Hamlin, showing some cords around the right front, and on the 18 of Kyle Busch, some cords showing right front and right rear.
That's just about a perfect tire, because you didn't have to go much further. You're going to have to pit anyway, so you want your tires to be worn out, and that's almost perfect.
Out of tires, out of fuel.
Got to come in.
Montoya giving up a spot here to Ryan Newman coming off turn 4. Here they come. Newman on the bottom. That'll be eighth place.
It's hard to watch for someone who's coming here as long as I have, to watch a race where that inside line just didn't 100 times faster than the outside line. But today you can hold your own up in that outside pretty well.
I've got to believe Ryan Newman and Tony Gibson, they were glad to see that caution. Remember, it wasn't long before that caution that Ryan Newman was reporting a vibration in that 39 car.
Right. Del, remember too, when they resurfaced this track, they put a progressive banking in it. The upper lane is banked more than the lower lane, and it has kind of been the tradition of tracks that are configured like this, that after the rubber gets worked in, that high groove is often faster than the short way around.
Well, it certainly is in the race, because you get such a run off the corner. You get up high and you get that great run down the straightaway, and you can take the guy on the inside's line away and he can't go anywhere. You got him bogged down.
Now Brian Vickers has had his problems. He cut a tire down, got to pit road, got it fixed, but didn't have any drive off turn 2. Watch the 83. Joey Logano is going to get to him and give him a wake-up call.
So, man, you're holding me up. That's what I'm talking about.
And Joey's back in the 26th position, 1 lap down.
One thing I like about this car, we've mentioned it many times, but the front bumper and the rear bumpers line up. They're flat. So you can give a guy a bump like that and it doesn't spin him out. The old car was like a snow plow. You'd go up and bump somebody, jack him up, turn him around.
Let's go. Clear by
Don't do that with this car.
Battle between Montoya and the 42. Rudeman in the 00 continues for 9th position. Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car right now in 21st, 1 lap down.
By the way, that last caution flag, Dale Earnhardt Jr. got the free pass, so he's back on the lead lap. Well, Clint Boyer, I don't think he's been out of traffic the whole day in that 33.
He's been working.
Well, when you start back where he started back in 31st, you're going to be in traffic. But the guy I'm impressed with, Dick Bergman talked about his pit stop a while ago, was that 12 car, just a couple of cars up in front of Carl Edwards. Great run for David Stremme. Right now sitting up in the 13th position, up in the top 15.
How about just dropping back a tad further? There's the 44 car of Allmendinger. He's running 16th. Hadn't said a lot about him today, but doing a pretty darn good job as well.
Been a team and a car and a driver. They've had to qualify on time these first 5 races. We go to Martinsville next week, at least for the 1 race. That car should be and will be in the top 35.
Jimmie Johnson has led since pit stops, and he's out in front of Denny Hamlin now by 0.8 of a second and 1.3 seconds up on Kyle Busch.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Verizon Wireless. Get the inside track from Penske Racing and race analysis, plus highlights and high-speed action, all on VCast from Verizon Wireless, America's largest, most reliable wireless network.
Things have heated up at second place, and Kyle Busch didn't so much pass his teammate Denny Hamlin as, well, what would you call it?
He moved him.
Move over.
He moved him over and went on.
Teammates be darned. Kyle Busch is trying to get back to the front. He's now in second, 1 second behind Jimmie Johnson.
Can you imagine the Coach Gibbs and all the boys on these 2 teams, of all the laps they've led here and had great cars, and they're running great today, and they don't have anything to show for it?
No.
They're just sitting there waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Meanwhile, Greg Biffle has gone behind the wall, and they are loading his car in the hauler. Dick Bergman.
And Greg Biffle physically is just fine. I just talked to him, Mike, and he certainly could have gone the distance in this race. And it was a real surprise to find that the car is the element that failed in the team. The engine blew up.
So Biffle will finish 39th today.
We have definitely seen more engine failures out of the Roush Yates camps. As far as that engine department this year. Several at Las Vegas. I think Travis Quapple at Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. A lot of failures so far out of those engine guys.
And I just keep questioning every week, these cars are faster than they were last year. And I haven't heard any real changes on gears. And I think these cars have gotten so much better. They're running faster around the racetracks, and they may need to revisit the gear rules that they've got for every racetrack.
Another car that spent most of the day in the top 5 and has now slipped back to 6th is Marcus Ambrose. What's up, Matt?
Impressive run by the 47, currently running in the 6th spot. A few laps ago, he came on the radio and said it feels like we may be losing the motor. He hasn't given any further updates. His spotter did tell him you might want to try to move up a lane, try to keep the momentum up as much as you can. They're waiting down here for further updates from Marcos.
His lap times look comparable to Jimmie Johnson, the 48 car leading the race. Johnson just ran a 16.76. Ambrose just ran a 16.70.
But once again, I'm going to throw this out there. At this point in the race, this is when you quit being a driver and start being a passenger. And you want that car to do all the work because you've done all you can do. And so the car doesn't feel good to you now because you just can't manhandle it like you were for 2/3 of the race.
Yeah, you can keep shoving on that thing for 300 laps, but we still have 135 to go.
And with all the green flag racing we're doing right now, I'm telling you, you get arm weary up in one of these things.
Next week, our second short track in a row will be at Martinsville Speedway for NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, built by the Home Depot. Next Sunday, more of the same.
And what has happened to our leader, Jimmie Johnson, in the 48? He's catching a lot of lap traffic. And in the meanwhile, Kyle Busch, the 18, who just took second away from his teammate, he wants the lead of this race back. 48 car really stepping up to the plate on that last pit stop, gaining 2 spots. But Krista, right now, they may be in danger of losing the lead.
Well, and lap traffic was actually a strength. We heard earlier in the racetrack announced, tell Jimmy, you're killing them in traffic. But right now,
can't be calm right now, Krista.
Nope.
He had Kyle Busch all over him on the high side, and you saw he gave Busch plenty of room, and now comes back at him at his rear bumper.
Overdriving behind you.
Jimmy Johnson said in pre-race he considers not winning at Bristol a career failure. I don't think he should be that hard on himself.
Oh, man.
Nothing easy about winning here.
Man's got a lot of years ahead of him. He'll be all right. I saw some old guys out here racing yesterday. He'll be okay.
Well, they're log jammed in front, and Johnson had a look on the bottom. See if Casey Mears gives way or goes after that 43. He's going after him.
And that was interesting what Jeff Dickerson, Kyle Busch's spotter, just told him when he went by the 48. He said, overdriving behind you like Jimmy Johnson was trying to overdrive his car, but now he's back up there on the rear bumper as Kyle Busch is in heavy traffic with Casey Mears and Reed Sorensen in the 43.
This is the hardest thing for Kyle Busch to do, to restrain himself.
He's going to switch lanes, run you up top here, corner up top, 48 corner.
Darrell, this has got to be so tough when one lap car wants to run the bottom, another one wants to run the top. Where do you go?
Yeah, well, that's the thing I say. Hard to restrain yourself. You get frustrated. You really want to boot that guy out of your way so you can go on, but you just can't do that. It's too dangerous the way this track is now.
So Kyle Busch has got to be disciplined and take what the racetrack will give him at this stage.
And beg your spotter to go find the spotter of the 43 and say, please cut me some slack.
125 laps left to go. Last August, Kyle Busch led 415 laps and finished second to Carl Edwards. $117 laps to go in the Food City 500. Leader Kyle Busch and runner-up Jimmy Johnson are out there in clean air. Not so third place Denny Hamlin. He has a big wad of traffic to get through, and he's trying to pick his way through it, but a lot of those cars are battling for position as well. Hamlin has a bit of a lead. Casey Kane on the fourth place car, Casey Kane right at the end of that pack, but a little bit white knuckle racing in there. Now Kane has to pass the same cars with the number 9 that Hamlin just dealt with.
And see, when you get in situations like this, it breaks your rhythm. You will hear the spotter say, get back in your rhythm. Once you pass somebody, you kind of get going and you get back in your rhythm. And that doesn't mean to turn up your iPod. It just means that when you're going down the straightaway, you listen to the engine. It's, there you go. Now he will hear that sound on both straightaways, and he'll back off at that same pitch. That's part of the rhythm. Then the other part is off the gas, little brake. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. And you just get in throw the car in, catch it, pick up the gas, touch the brake. Listen for the rhythm of the engine.
We asked a number of the drivers in today's race to expand on that thought about the rhythm of racing at Bristol.
The thing about Bristol is it's rhythm. You know, it is rhythm. It's about doing the same thing right over and over and over.
Because there's no other track like this, so it's not like you have this, ingrained, sense for what's fast.
Usually, if you're consistent here, it's as good as being fast.
It's a nightmare when you can't get into that rhythm and you can't get the car working the way you want it. It's a long day.
Jeff Burton's had a little trouble finding that rhythm today. He won here last year, leading the last 2 laps in an overdrive style shootout. But this hasn't been the best day for the Cat car, but slowly, methodically, he's worked his way up to 11th.
And just another little piece of the puzzle is hand-eye coordination. When you hear the engine where you want it and your left and your right hand is up on top of that wheel where you want it, that also is a signal that everything is going the way you want it to. A part of the rhythm package.
Steve?
Mike, exactly right about Jeff Burton, last year's winner. However, once he got in or around the top 10, the problem is the back end has been just a little bit too loose for his liking.
Boy, he just cracked the top 10 because he drove by David Ruderman in that double zero.
He had that back end out like he was talking about, too. That thing was swung out there loose.
But he's definitely our biggest mover. Remember, he started in the 38th position, so he's gained 28 spots since started this race as we're approaching 100 laps to go.
And as you watch his hands, When his hand is right where he wants it to be, that's time to pick up the throttle. He waits on the car. He pulls the wheel down. See how it's down? Now he says, okay, I'm ready to go now. Now I'm back up on the straightaway, and that's just all part of getting in your rhythm.
Ahead of him, Montoya's the 9th place car.
But the way he drives the car, that's old school driving right there. Most of these kids today, they want to hold the wheel at 3 and 9 and drive it like a go-kart. That's the way we used to do it right there, man. You got to crank on it. When it won't turn, what do you do?
When I said he had trouble finding his rhythm, it's because he's been in heavy traffic all day. He really hasn't had a chance to just run those kind of laps you talked about without dealing with other cars, one side or another.
They definitely look like Scott Miller in that group. They've made the right adjustments. They've kept up at the racetrack because he just took that position away from Montoya. That moves him up to the 9th spot.
12 rounds open Friday. It opens this Friday, and that is a thriller with wrestler John Cena in the starring role. And if Bristol's not enough excitement for you, and you can't wait for Martinsville, go and see 12 rounds. That's a corker.
This is about the point in the race, Larry, when I'd say, how many more laps are there to go? They'd say 50 more to go, 50 more.
And they'd be lying to you.
They'd be lying to you.
How many now? Well, there's still 50.
Well, let's make it 100.
And then you'd get really mad. See, when I get in there.
Well, hurry up and get in here and finish this thing off.
That's right.
I've been helped out of the car, carried out of this place many, many times from cramps, dehydration, and worn out. This place will do it to you.
Now that's Travis Quapples trying to stay on the lead lap. He's back in the 18th spot, so he's picking them up and laying them down.
He is having a good run. 100 laps to go.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by 12 Rounds, starring John Cena. Friday only in theaters.
So if you take DW's advice, the wife's got chores for you to do, tell her there's only 45 laps to go.
Yeah, and it'll only take about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's 89 laps to go, and the 3 leaders are all together, courtesy of Travis Quappel. Quappel in the 28 was trying to keep from going a lap down, and he really held up Kyle Busch, and then he held up Jimmy Johnson a bit, and Johnson a little close encounter right there. Now Quappel's got nothing to lose, everything to race for and nothing to lose. If they don't find a sponsor, this team has to shut down. He was really working hard to stay on the lead lap.
But I got to tell you, this thing is starting to really get tight up near the front. That 18, the 48, the 11, the 9, the 5, those guys are there.
Tell you what, I believe if we get us another caution, this 031 car, Jeff Burton, they're going to be a player because there he is battling Jeff Gordon for the 8th position. Remember, Jeff Burton started back in the 38th position.
But this is the way Jeff Burton would run this race. This is the way Mark Martin would run this race. Kind of lay back, don't talk about me much. Come inside 100 laps.
Go get him.
Well, it's not laying back so much, Darrell, as it is Jeff Burton doesn't care if he leads 300, 400 laps of this race. There's only one lap he wants to lead, and that's about all he led here last year in winning.
He's getting himself in the hunt.
And I tell you, our leader, Kyle Busch, in that 18 car with about 84 laps to go, he is in heavy, heavy traffic behind Eric Almirola and Bobby Labonte in the 96.
I don't like this because Almirola hasn't been on the bottom all day, so that is where Busch has to go. Bobby Labonte hasn't got off the bottom all day.
Well, and what you don't like is for Kyle is that, you know, we know he's very impatient. And we know he can get very frustrated in a hurry. And here he is with guys that are going to race him pretty hard. And that just gets to you, man.
He's trying to force the 96 to give him the bottom lane.
Plus you got,
and that's a little bit of a struggle there.
You got the 48 now that, you know, if he happens to make the right move, he could pass him right here.
Looks like Jimmy Johnson's going to jump to the high side, follow Bobby Labonte. If Kyle Busch can clear that 96 car, you can see how he pulls Jimmy Johnson off the corner. I think he'll make this pass in 3 and 4.
Yeah, he just dove it in there pretty hard and got the line, got up in front of Bobby Labonte there.
Darrell, this I don't understand. Bobby Labonte's one of the cleanest drivers on the racetrack. If you race him clean, he'll give you all the room you want. If you want to muscle under him, you'll get him up on the wheel.
Yeah, well, the problem is that you can move to the high side now on this racetrack. And you can maintain a pretty good speed up there and choke that guy on the inside down. Yeah, Bobby's trying to get out of the way, really, but he can't just put on the brakes and pull over.
I know we've been watching what Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson's been doing, but that 11 car, Denny Hamlin's right there. But here's the car that's been on the move. Casey Kane in that 9 car. Krista talked about him earlier. He's just been having a nice, solid, quiet day. And here he is with 78 laps to go, sitting there within striking distance.
Well, there's some boys up there, but there's a man back there in the back, too. That 5 car's not 4 behind, and he's got ideas about getting up here and making a race out of it before it's over with.
Our pole sitter, Mark Martin.
Mark dropped back a bit. He has only led once today for 2 laps. And you're right, he's had a pretty quiet race. Just kind of been lurking there outside of the leader.
Now here's what we need to set up. We're getting close to 100 laps into this green flag run. We know there's going to be one more pit stop whether we stay green or not. But remember, on the last green flag run, at about 120 laps, we started seeing some people have some tire issues, wearing the tires out.
So when will they pit? We'll find out. 75 laps to go at Bristol.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the Home Depot, proud sponsor of Joey Logano and the number 20 team. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. By AT&T, your world delivered. And by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates. 65 laps to go here in Bristol, and there's your leader. Kyle Busch has dominated, led after 100 laps, led after 200, led after 300, and after 400 laps. The driver, though, here at Bristol, who's led the most laps, Kyle Busch, in the last 6 races here, has not won. And just moments ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. about to get lapped.
Yes, it'll be the second time today. Dale Jr.'s car is not working. They've had an opportunity to get it better, and it's just not paid off for him. So once again, he's getting ready to go back down another lap, courtesy of our leader, Kyle Busch.
And Jimmy Johnson currently running second. Denny Hamlin third, followed by Casey Kane. Veterans like Mark Martin and Jeff Burton moving on up, as DW and Larry have talked about. He is now 7th. What about the chances of Kyle and Denny Hamlin, teammates, young and restless, tangling toward the end?
Well, it's all, I think, going to come down to the pit stop. Larry McReynolds was talking about how close we're getting to a pit stop, and I think it's going to be decided on pit road once again with a green flag stop. We saw yesterday where Kyle Busch led and dominated the nationwide race. They had a problem on pit road. It cost him a win there. So you've got to have an opportunity right now that once they get on pit road, those crews cannot afford to make a mistake. Neither can the driver getting on pit road under green flag stop. We haven't done that all day today.
This scene in Bristol, like a Greek theater, it might be the theater of the absurd when we see those stops. And talking about the pit stops, these are Jeff's choices for today's AT&T fastest pit crew. Hamlin, Johnson, and Kyle Busch. Don't forget to vote the AT&T fastest and most valuable pit crew of the year from your AT&T phone. Text the pit crew's car number to 2258. And we appreciate your vote. That's it from the Hollywood Hotel. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. 59 laps to go. One more pit stop in the offing. And Kevin Harvick up against the wall in turn 4. This could be the caution. It is.
There it is. There's the
everyone
caution.
else has been looking for.
It looked like I might have had a tire, Larry.
What a weekend, bud. What a weekend. You think of anything I had more fun doing?
Well, one thing he did have some fun doing, he won the Nationwide Series race. The first time he's ever won a race in his own race car in the Nationwide Series. But it's been a tough weekend in this 29 car.
They've had trouble with that car ever since they backed it out of the truck. There he goes. Pow.
A well-worn path up to the safer barrier.
Now, the good news is, not a lot of good news, but we do have interliners in the right side tires here. That's one thing that's a little different about this place and others, the short tracks. We do run interliners in the right sides.
That's just a safety shield in case the tire goes down.
Conspiracy theorists unite. Dale Earnhardt Jr. got the free pass.
And that's how many today?
Well, it's 3, but in this case, you just couldn't time Kevin Harvick. Okay, it's 2. Kevin Harvick losing that tire. Pit road's open, and here come the leaders. Let's start with Steve Burns.
Mike, Jeff Burton just saying my takeoff is a little slow and I'm a little freer than I want to be. Crew Chief Scott Miller says let's go up on air pressures all the way around. A half pound in all 4 tires for Jeff Burton, Krista.
Jimmy Johnson is tight throughout the center. It's going to be a 4-tire stop for the 48. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch is saying his front end is tight and his rear end is tight in the center. He doesn't know what to do. Steve Addington said, let's go back on that air pressure. Matt.
And Denny Hamlin is in. He says the car is way too tight, 3/4 of the way through the center, just like it was in practice. He needs it to be freed up a lot more. Trying to get the left sides on. Sherman's got the lefts on, and the 11 is away.
Tell you what, that 18 crew didn't get beat off pit road that time. Look how big of a lead. That Casey Kane and the 9, Kenny Francis, they were the real winner.
Yeah, I tell you, that 9 car is coming, Larry. Watch his lap times. He's as good or better than anybody right now. I'd watch him.
The Gibbs cars will be up front on the restart, and nobody hungers more for a win in Thunder Valley than Joe Gibbs drivers. We'll tell you why when we come back.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Subway. The big event is back. Any regular footlong for just $5. Subway, eat fresh. By Lipitor. By Sprint, NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race. And by the all-new 09 F-150. It's not just a new truck, it's a new F-150.
One lap to go, and we'll restart with 51 laps to go. Leading is Kyle Busch. Last summer here, he led 415 laps. Finished second. Today, he's led 322 laps, both dominating performances. Hasn't been able to find victory lane. And right behind him, Denny Hamlin. The last 2 spring races here, he's led the white flag lap. He hasn't been to victory lane.
Those guys have got to be sitting on the edge of their seats. Car owners, crew chiefs, drivers. Hamlin dominated Richmond last year, led about 2/3 of the race, didn't win.
Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Get Claret and Clear, get back to feeling like yourself again.
Well, all I know is there's 160,000 people standing on our feet. If you ever go down to the local short track for the 50-lap feature, that's what we got here. 51 laps to go at Bristol.
Plus, we just had a pit stop, get something to drink, get freshened up, get up in the seat, tighten them belts up.
Real tight.
Let's go racing, boys.
Marcus Ambrose back in 8th spot has dropped a cylinder. So he'll fade a bit. He was in the top 5 most of the day.
Yeah, he
Sam
would have.
Hornish pitted out of the box. Got a 1-lap penalty.
Marcus may have been all right if he hadn't had this caution here where everybody gets fresh tires. Down a cylinder hurts you a little bit, but you can kind of keep up when everybody's on old tires. Whoa, Jimmy Johnson. Look out, Jimmy Johnson.
Mark Martin has edged up now into 4th place with Johnson in 5th.
But just an update. Boy, they are stacked up off turn 2, and they still, I don't think they're finished yet with this mess. But just an update on Kevin Harvick, the 29 car. They did not wear that tire out. They actually cooked the bead of the tire that goes against the rim.
All right, Jimmy Johnson back now in 5th spot. Krista.
Remember what I said, Mike, earlier about Jimmy Johnson being calm? Forget about it. They had a slow stop there. He came in 2nd and went out 5th. They had problems. The lug nut got hung up on the left rear side. Caution.
Yeah, David Stremme spinning from contact going into turn number 3.
Well, that was that area right there, Mike, where you were saying, no, you know, bottled up, and they really were. I mean, there was just a bunch of cars all wadded up right here together.
It's the 8th caution of the day, and it comes just a few laps after.
You know, I
Kevin
think he may have had a tire down or something. Oh, that car got loose before he got hit.
Let's watch from Dale Jr.'s point of view.
Watch this car wobble right here now. It goes sideways there and again, and then I don't think Jr. really hit him.
Nope. No, I think you're right.
Anybody seen Digger today?
There he is.
45 laps to go. A.J. Allmendinger gets the free pass on David Stremme. Spin in turn 3 after losing a tire at lap 455, 8th caution of the day. Here's today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile monster moment. Kyle Busch going around Jimmy Johnson. Busch has led 332 laps so far, and there's been nobody that he can't pass.
No, in 3 out of the 5 races we've had this year, you think about Daytona, dominated Daytona, got knocked out in the wreck. Vegas, dominated Vegas. Today, dominated. He's got 1 win out of those 3 dominations so far.
Coming to green with 41 laps to go. There are now 16 cars on the lead lap, including Allmendinger. Right behind Kyle Busch, his teammate Denny Hamlin, just as hungry for a win as Kyle is, hungrier yet. And then Casey Kane, Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, the front 5, Jeff Gordon, Burton, Newman, Ambrose, Montoya, the top 10.
You've got the 2 Toyotas, the Dodge of Casey Kane, and then 3 of the Chevrolets of Hendrick Motorsports right behind there, 4th through 6th.
Yeah, I think Jeff Gordon, I think they may have made some adjustments on that car because they went way off the wrong way there the run before, but it looks like he's keeping up pretty good this time.
They seem to have a short run car, and that's what we've got. When they put those tires on, it's 51 laps to go.
And 2 guys, Larry, that I think have done a great job today, come in here just kind of on the bubble. Mark Martin in the 5 and Ryan Newman in the 39. Newman sitting there in 8th spot. He needed a good run today. Hopefully he's going to get a good finish out of this thing. He's been running good all day.
Now amongst the leaders, the lap cars of Robbie Gordon, number 7, and Bobby Labonte, 96. Labonte holding to the bottom. Lead lap cars working their way past.
Labonte's been a tough pass all day, but even now he's down out of the way, trying to give the guys room, but he's got a decent race car. He just doesn't have a car good enough to hold these guys up.
Tony Stewart in that 14 car, he's trying to stay the first car 1 lap down to get the free pass should we get the caution.
Now behind that group, Jeff Burton, last year's winner, sitting in 7th, battling Ryan Newman.
You know, not far behind this battle right here, we'll continue to monitor Marcos Ambrose in that 47 car. It's been reported he's down a cylinder, but he's still hanging there in the top 10 in 10th with 35 laps to go. There you see Marcos.
It's probably more like what he's accustomed to. It run like a nationwide car right now. A little slow on the straightaway, but digging through the corners.
Holding on to a top 10 spot. Montoya made that move as Travis Kvapil slipped up the racetrack. Montoya jumped underneath. Boy, Montoya's had a great day here, trying to nail down only his 2nd short track top 10 since moving to NASCAR.
Still out there running the top. Still out there, the 28. Still going to be there.
Yeah, I talked to Brian Patty, Juan Pablo Montoya's crew chief, this morning. He said, you know, we are improving every week. We've not had the greatest luck, but we feel good like we're moving forward every single week we go to the racetrack.
Jimmy Johnson gets around Mark Martin there as a power move.
Good job.
That's 4th place. And here comes Jeff Gordon.
1 went on it. 48 went by on the inside. 24 going to go by on the outside. Mark says, hey, teammates, cut me some slack.
Now, while we're watching this battle, nothing's really changed at the front as Kyle Busch is maintaining about a ½ second lead over his teammate Denny Hamlin with now 30 laps to go.
When we talked to Denny Hamlin yesterday, a lot of the comparisons he made to other teams were to the other car at Joe Gibbs Racing at the front of the pack here, Kyle Busch. And those two measure themselves against each other. And I get the feeling there's nobody that Denny would rather beat here today than the car that's right in front of him.
And when I talk about physical and mental fatigue, I think about Kyle running like three races on a given weekend, trucks, nationwide, and cup. He ran 300 laps here yesterday, finished 6th. That's the difference in he and Hamlin right now. Hamlin set out yesterday because he wanted to be fresh for today. So laps around the racetrack doesn't seem to hurt Kyle Busch at all. Matter of fact, they seem to make him better.
I know the magic number there, Darrell. 23. That's how old Kyle Busch is.
Good point.
27 laps to go. Kyle Busch holding off Denny Hamlin by ½ second. Kyle Busch beginning to stretch it out a little bit on Denny Hamlin. 20 laps to go. The 2 Joe Gibbs Toyotas at the front of the field. Casey Kane 3rd, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon. And contact between David Stremme and Joey Logano 2 laps ago in turn 4.
Well, Stremme's 1 lap down. Logano's a couple of laps down. I think probably just wanted him to move out of the way. I don't think he expected him maybe to knock the fence down, but he did.
Stremming's on a mission right now, trying to get up there to become the first car a lap down. He's got a couple of cars in front of him, Tony Stewart and Travis Quapple, so he was not going to waste a lot of time behind Logano in the 20.
And the good news is now, if we have a caution, we will have a single file restart because we're inside 20 laps.
Right.
That's huge on this little racetrack.
Two-lane, door, corner, clear, all the way, all the way.
Kyle Busch is trying to become a two-time winner at any racetrack for the first time. He's had some coulda, woulda, shouldas here.
Got to be. If what happened to him, just think about what happened to him last year. Think about what happened to him yesterday. I can't imagine what's going through his mind right now as he tries to hang on to the win here.
Here's our last Ask.com question. Darrell Waltrip had a 7-race win streak at Bristol Motor Speedway. Who broke it? You get the answer at Ask.com and enter the Ask.com NASCAR Challenge. You might win a trip to Talladega from the official search engine of NASCAR.
That's, you know what, when 7 races, a lot of races. I'll be the first to admit that, obviously, but that's 3,500 laps.
Wow.
Pretty much mistake free.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that was when Gary Baker owned the racetrack and he hoped to meet a lot of famous drivers at Victory Lane and all he got to see was you?
The only guy racing. Man, I could have had my picture maybe with you at home.
Here's a battle for third between Casey Kane in the 9, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. Of course, the 48 team lost some spots on that last pit stop as we're closing in on 13 laps to go. You just saw Coach Gibbs. He wants to break a streak of being able not to close the deal here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Casey Kane had to close Jimmy Johnson quickly because they're getting right up into lap traffic. Here comes Johnson back on the inside, but that's where John Andretti's lap car is.
Yeah, John got out of the way nicely, though.
Yep.
And while they've been going side by side, that 24 car, Jeff Gordon back there in the 5th spot, he's closing in there. You see him right there about 3 car lengths back.
Yeah, they made a good adjustment on that car, the 24 car, this last pit stop, and he is a lot better than he was the last run.
Well, they just showed Kyle Busch 10 laps to go, and Denny Hamlin has closed it down to 0.6 of a second as we watch the battle rage on for third.
There's 10 laps to go. There's about a dozen cars sitting out there in front of him he's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, that's going to be the tough part. I mean, he's got a cluster of cars here in front of him that he's going to be right up in the middle of when we come down here to the last few laps of this race. That could be the difference.
The 8 laps to go this time for Kyle Busch, and the 18 car has about a half-second lead over Denny Hamlin with a lot of lap cars in front of him.
Jeff Gordon takes 4th away from Casey Kane, but the action's right in front of the race leader.
You got it. And if you go on the bottom and you get bogged down trying to pass somebody, that 11 can jump to the outside and you can have a heck of a battle to the finish line. Oh, we got a blown engine.
20's blowing up. Caution's out. Caution's out. Caution.
It was the teammate of our 2 leaders, Joey Logano, who was brought out the 9th caution of the day.
Guess what?
Hang around to the truck
there won't be any traffic, any lap traffic in their way when they get this restart.
No, it'll be a single file restart, and depending on how much cleanup may be necessary, we could have as few as 2 laps to go when we go green.
Out the exhaust pipe coming over the front straightaway.
Now that car has smoke coming out of it today, and it had smoke coming out of it earlier this year. Tony Stewart.
For the last 10 years.
Right.
Now what's interesting.
Tough break for Logano. Excuse me, Larry. He is going to have to qualify on time next week at Martinsville. He won't be in the top 35, it doesn't look like.
Frustration in a couple of ways right there. The engine blows up in the 20, and it really changes the complexity of this race with his 2 guys up there leading the race.
Well, I think the thing coach is worried about, we're going to a racetrack that I don't think Joey Logano has been to before. And he's going to have to qualify on time, and that's tough to do at Martinsville.
It's a maybe, Darrell. Depends on how many cars complete more laps than Logano as the rest of this race runs. But he's going to be right on the cusp of being outside the top 35.
Now, here's the situation. We got 16 cars on the lead lap. No free passes available because we're within 10 laps. There's no question the top 8, 10, 11 cars will not pit. I will guarantee you those cars at the back will come in and get those 4 fresh tires because remember, nobody has been to pit road since about lap 459.
Here's what I'd be worried about. Now, wasn't it last couple of times when these two cars were running first and second at the end of the race, they got ready to take off, neither one of them would go?
Fuel pickup problems.
Fuel pickup problems, fuel pressure problems. Yeah. I'd be sitting there holding my breath.
Carl Edwards and Dale Jr. come onto pit road, along with A.J. Allmendinger and Clint Boyer. Those are the 4 takers among the 16 lead lap cars.
Now, here's where a single file restart on a small racetrack like this, you can't afford to give up any track position. Unless you're at the last car on the lead lap, you can't come in and start 20th.
Well, Edwards was 12th, then Earnhardt Jr. was 14th, so they're not going to lose too many spots.
And remember, one of the rules on a down finger restart within 10 laps, the lead lap, not only is it single file restart, all the lead lap cars go to the front of the pack.
So we're getting down to it here in Bristol. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin continue the lead, and guess what? More of the same coming at you on Fox next Sunday.
Time for a little Martinsville madness.
The paperclip shaped half mile.
It's the sport's shortest and oldest track.
It's too easy to make mistakes here. You've got to take it easy.
These hardy fans came here for action, and they are not going to be denied.
It just proves 3 wide does not work here in Martinsville.
I love this place. A doubleheader weekend on Fox. The Camping World Truck Series Saturday and the Sprint Cup Series on Sunday from Martinsville Speedway. A little bit of cleanup along the front straightaway of the oil dry that was put down to soak up the fluids that came out of Joey Logano's car.
And I know you want the racetrack to be clean, but that's up high. And I mean, we're down here at the end of the race, 3 or 4 laps to go.
Now look at these front 4. Kyle Busch has dominated this track, hasn't won here in 2 years. Denny Hamlin, we've said, has led the white flag lap the last 2 years in a row here, hasn't won. Jimmy Johnson in 3rd, says his resume is not complete because he hasn't won at Bristol. Jeff Gordon in 4th, other than the qualifying race at Daytona, hasn't won anywhere in a long time.
Since October of 2007.
So we're about to find out who wants it most.
And Casey Kane's in the top 10 in points in the first time in almost a year. So there's a lot of this race went just about like I thought it would. There were guys at the front that didn't stay there, and there were guys in the back that worked their way to the front.
Chris Myers.
Well, we have that movie 12 Rounds opening next Friday. We've had a few laps to go here. Jimmy Johnson off of pit road, the race up with 178 laps to go. He took the lead. Johnson has led a total of 88 laps today. But then Kyle Busch with 131 laps to go takes it back. He has dominated with over 360 laps. Moments ago, the 8th caution coming out as we saw Kevin Harvick having some problems creating a caution. Got a lot of green flag stretches, and then Logano, the teammate of Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin for Joe Gibbs Racing, bringing out the final caution. 13 lead changes, 7 different leaders, but we have teammates Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, followed by teammates Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, take a real quick look. Right, you can see that the leader's Kyle Busch. There's 16 cars on the lead lap, along with that 8 lead changes today. So what I'm looking at right now is I think Darrell and the guys have kind of set it up. When they drop the green flag, I think Denny Hamlin knows he's got to get it done. He's got to get it done in a hurry. And I think Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, they're sitting there going to be ready to pounce on these guys real quick to try to take advantage of what might happen here. So I think this restart is going to be critical. So
the teammate stuff may go out the window. It's every man for himself. Mike?
Denny Hamlin told us yesterday he's tired of not winning. He's 28 years old. He thinks he should have more than a handful of wins in his resume by this point. We're going to cross 500 laps this time, which means we go into overdrive and we'll have 1 attempt at a green-white checker. I think if he gets to Kyle Busch, he'll move him out of the way.
Here's a little bit of concern I have. As I was talking about, I'm cleaning up the oil that was in the stay dry. This restart, if Kyle spins his tires, if he gets a wheel spin there on the takeoff, I mean, Denny Hamlin's going to be all over him. Matter of fact, he may be too much all over him. And so that's something that they're both going to have to watch. They're going to have to time this restart just right so that Denny doesn't run over Kyle.
But Mike, you're right. Denny Hamlin told us his rookie season back in 2006, he had the best car for 2 races. He won those 2 races. The last 2 seasons, he's had the best car several races and only won 1 time each year.
I just saw Kyle clean them up a little bit back there, and he laid 2 big black marks down. So
all right,
should have them cleaned up pretty good.
That Mustang pace car gets way out of the way, and Kyle Busch brings them down for the restart. We're in overdrive, 2 laps to go.
Everybody got a solid restart, less than 30 seconds. We'll know the winner of this thing. Casey Kane looks to the inside of Gordon. Gordon shuts the door.
Kyle nailed it on that restart. He got it just right. No wheel spin. I think it's just going to be close.
No fine.
But he's pulling away ever so slightly. White flags in the air.
And it's Johnson to the outside of Hamlin.
Now that could be big.
Hamlin is going to have to deal with Jimmy.
You're fine, bud.
Rudeman gets bumped by Boyer. And here we come to the flag, and wild thing, Kyle Busch dominates in Bristol. With Hamlin second, Johnson third, Gordon and Kane the top 5.
And Kyle Busch will be stickering all the way to victory circle.
How about the Coach Gibbs there?
1-2.
1-2 finish.
Thanks, Jeff. Way to go, boys. Way to bring it.
You know, it's way too young in his career to call Kyle Busch the dominator, but when he wins, he just really tends to put a whipping on the field.
And what I was curious, you know, last year had a phenomenal year. Sometimes kids will come into this sport and they'll have a phenomenal year. The question I've had all along is, can he continue to do that? Is he going to be that consistent for a long period of time? That's the mark of a champion.
It is the first time Kyle has won more than once at one racetrack, in scoring his 14th career victory. Second win here in 9 races. Of course, he won here March in 07. First time we ran the car of today chassis here. And it's his 3rd top 3 finish of 2009.
So I think it's safe to say that no one has visited Victory Lane more in 2009 than Mom and Pop Busch. 3 consecutive weekends for them.
That's right.
And that kid just is right. He raced 800 laps this weekend. 300 yesterday, 500 today.
In the last 2 Bristol races, last summer and today, he's led 792 of 500 laps.
But like Darrell said, this is a rerun of 2008. The question will be, got a long way to go. Can they continue that into those 10 chase races?
I think they learned a lot, Larry. I think the team did. I don't think he had to learn that much. I think the team did. I think you got to lose one to learn how to win one.
And as you mentioned, Darrell, he's also won 2 Camping World Truck races and a nationwide race this year to go with his 2 Sprint Cup victories.
He's on pace to beat the record he set last year with the 21 victories in all 3 series.
Well, he's somewhat repeating his brother's victory lap from last week. He's just doing it nose first.
Well, we're at Bristol. This was always a special track to Alan Kulwicki. There's a grandstand here named for Alan, and this is what Alan self-described as the Polish victory lap. Window net down, facing the fans, and saluting them for coming out here and supporting all these drivers.
In 1992, we all stood here in tears as Alan Kulwicki's hauler left here that day, that sad day, when Alan and some of his crew members lost their lives in an airplane crash here at the Tri-Cities.
Yeah, they were coming back from an appearance in Knoxville, and Kulwicki, the reigning champion of the series, was lost to us. So nice to see that touch from Kyle Busch as now he pulls toward victory lane. Matt?
And a 1-2 finish in overtime for the JGR cars. Denny Hamlin, so describe your car much better on the longer run than the short run, which is what we ended up with.
Yeah, we just had that. We had a long run car. We didn't have that short run car, and there were about 200,000 FedEx employees that were hoping we were going to get a win today, but we tried to get a win for them. Just came up a little short, but congratulations to Kyle. It's great to get a 1-2 finish for Joe Gibbs Racing, and just can't thank this whole team enough. Good job on pit road all day, solid, and just had a solid car all day. We just had a 3rd place car on short runs, and we had a winning car on the long run, just never got it.
And they're going on to Martinsville, a place they had a great year 1 year ago. Krista?
Well, last fall, Kyle Busch led 415 of 500 laps and did not win the race. He has been here in Bristol Victory Lane before, but he's also been the best car that did not win the race. Kyle Busch takes a breath and climbs out of the victorious number 18. as he celebrates with his crew. Celebration becoming familiar for this young man. Kyle, I gotta ask, did last fall flash into your head at all, knowing you were the dominant car then and didn't win? Did you think of that?
It's pretty awesome, you know, this is just, they're a little late, but oh well. You know, this is just awesome, you know, we should have won here last fall, we should have won here yesterday. We've had so many great nationwide cars here too, we just keep messing up on pit road, but I just want to thank Snickers, M&M's, Sprint, Interstate Batteries, Toyota, NOS Energy Drink, Marquis Jets. Of course, thank the fans, you know, they're great for being here too, and so it's just an overall great day. You know, the car handled well, we made some adjustments to it. Steve was good on pit road, guys were great on pit road today, so really came out.
Well, you mentioned yesterday, one thing you've said that's different about you this year is you've learned to take some bad days and kind of salvage something, not let them haunt you. Do you feel that today?
Well, I didn't do so good yesterday of keeping my emotions in check, but you know, this is a little bit of redemption here. You know, this place probably owes me a few, but you can never ask a racetrack to pay you back. You just got to go out there and keep working at it and keep trying to do what you know how to do, and that's to win races. And fortunately today we had a good enough car. We were up there and we had a car to take the shot at winning this thing, and here we are in victory lane. So it's awesome.
With the Cup wins, the Truck wins, and the Duel, you have won something every weekend. Steve.
All right, thanks, Krista. With Jimmy Johnson, third place finish, a place where you've never won, but I guess the improvement continues. And talk about this day specifically.
Yeah, what a day for us. Truthfully, I wish we had another 500 laps to go. I feel great and really getting rhythm of this racetrack and understanding what I need to do and how to lead Chad in adjustments. So I really have to thank Chad and Greg Ives and our engineering staff sitting me down a couple weeks ago to look at this racetrack and what I really need here. And I made my wish list, and they gave me what I needed. So just a great day for the Slows Cobalt Tools and Paula. I want to thank all the employee owners at Lowe's for supporting us, and all the fans for the 48. Great day here. I know we gave the 48 fans something to cheer for today.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, here we go.
A dominating performance by Kyle Busch. Close but no cigar once again for Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane. But how about Montoya with his second career top 10 on a short track, and Marcus Ambrose?
We talked about him a lot in the late stages of the race. Down a cylinder, hung on for a top 10. Derek.
That's pretty impressive, really, when you have engine trouble and get his top 10 out of it. And Kurt had trouble early on and got in the back of a car and messed the front end up. Carl kind of rebounds, gets to 15th place. And look at Allmendinger, Larry, 16th place, going to Martinsville. Pretty comfortable.
He's locked in.
Pretty comfortable.
Looks like we talked about Joey Logano. It looks like he may hang on to a spot in the top 35 and not have to qualify on time when we get to the paperclip next week.
Looks like the real winner on that top 35 situation. Unofficially, a team that came in here not locked into the top 35. They're going to leave here 35th will be Eric Almirola in the 8 car. They came in here outside the top 35.
And add to that, Mark Martin will be in the top 35 and not have to qualify on time. So here is the danger zone, as we call it. Everyone above the red bar at Martinsville is locked into the field. Everyone below the red bar will have to qualify on time, and this will change week to week with this year's Sprint Cup point standings.
And Travis Kvapil had that good run today, finished up there in the top 20, and sadly they may not be at Martinsville with that 28 car unless sponsor comes their way.
Lots more to come from Bristol Motor Speedway. After Kyle Busch's dominating win, he led 378 laps today. Stick around. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Welcome to the Lipitor post-race show. NASCAR on Fox live from sun-splashed Bristol, Tennessee. And for the 6th time in the career of Joe Gibbs Racing, his drivers finishing 1-2, the first for Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. And Krista standing by with a coach.
That's right, Chris. Regardless how those final 2 laps panned out, it was going to be Coach Gibbs here in victory lane. But to have your other driver, Joey Logano, kind of cause or bring about that situation, a little bit bittersweet for you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, with Home Depot, you know, we lose a motor there. I think we have great motors. We always do a great job in our motor room. But to lose a motor like that, Joey fought hard all day. And so I think you're right. It's the whole range of emotions. So fired up about FedEx. Denny was right there all day. Had a great car, and then to have Snickers and Mars, you know, have a great day and finish with Kyle like that, win a race. I think if you go back and check, we've led, I don't know how many laps here, the last 3 years or so, and I don't know that we've even finished in the top 10. So this is a real thrill for us. hate it for Home Depot, but rest of our race team here, we're really excited.
Coach, is there anything Kyle Busch can't do in a race car?
I haven't seen it. I know the Lord's blessed us with a great crew too, and everybody that back home. We thank everybody back at the shop. It takes so much to make these things go. We got a great team feeling, and I really appreciate that. Lord bless us with a great group of guys.
1-2 finish for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Thanks, Krista, and thanks, Joe Gibbs. And Kyle Busch has been dominant in the Toyota, followed by Denny Hamlin. And just in case you tuned in a little bit late, it was a brisk, moving race, especially for John Andretti, off the banking and sliding in for an early caution. Kurt Busch, who told us in the pre-race, this place will chew you up and spit you out, into the back of Kevin Harvick, actually Todd Bodine, a part of that caution, and Kurt frustrated and not a factor. Meanwhile, his brother Kyle taking the lead from Jimmy Johnson on the 69th lap. At that point, it was a Kyle Johnson show, and after 100, Kyle the leader. Jamie McMurray running in the top 10 here, and a heated exchange there with Juan Pablo Montoya. Jimmy Johnson here off of pit road with 178 laps to go, winning the race to get the lead, but then watching the 18. That's his teammate. Kyle Busch treating him with disregard to get the lead back from Denny Hamlin. And then Kyle once again with 131 laps to go, taking care of Jimmy Johnson, leading 378 laps in this race. Kyle Busch, it was a caution, a restart, green-white checker. There was no catching Kyle Busch, who's becoming a regular in victory lane. His mom used to, the younger of the two, actually her sons have won the last 3 races. Mom in there to say, way to go, kid. Mom's Day is next month. Maybe you'll win another one between now and then. Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel here in Bristol, Tennessee, and thanks for tuning us in on this afternoon. Well, it's been kind of a weird start to the season. Kenseth wins a couple, then it's the Busch brothers, but Kyle Busch, and he was on a roll last year, has really dominated.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is right now, Chris, as far as if I was a crew chief or a team owner for another operation was getting beat as bad as we're getting right now by Kyle Busch, I think I'd go back to my shop tomorrow morning and sit everybody down and say, guys, we got to do a little bit better job of figuring out how to get a hold of this young man and get our program ramped up, because again, it just seems like he moves at will. I mean, once they get that car dialed in, here he comes, and nobody can kind of catch him.
I mean, are the Toyotas that much better?
Well, I mean, 1-2 finish.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it may be one of those situations where I don't believe that the car is that much better, but definitely right now, the young man is definitely up on the wheel. Darrell likes to say he wants to win races, and I think that's the challenge. Everybody's got to be challenged more to be able to try to beat him. They're going to have to take him and really get in there and get after him, because I think you can frustrate him. I think that's the main thing that guys need to take. Darrell, I mean, put it this way, Darrell used to be able to get in guys' heads and sometimes get them off of sync. That's what somebody's got to do with him.
As patient and as perfect as we've seen Kyle Busch run a race, but the points leader is Jeff Gordon, and he's standing by with our Matt Yoakum.
Well, it seems like old times at Bristol. Jeff Gordon started the day as a championship point leader. He'll leave it as well. And Jeff, when you look at this day, how would you describe it walking out of Thunder Valley with a top 5?
Well, it was just an incredible team battle. You know, I love the fight that these guys in the DuPont Chevrolet are putting up. You know, I mean, I wish the Chasers right now, because we're in championship form right now. You know, we're very consistent. We're fighting. We're making good adjustments, great pit stops. But, you know, I was a little disappointed. I really thought we were going to be better than that. Yesterday in practice, the car was incredible, and I thought, you know, we were going to be able to back that up. And at the start of the race, it was pretty good, but we just, I don't know, the track changed. We couldn't keep up with it. And there at the end, we finally got it back, and the guys just busted off a great pit stop, got us in the top 5 and our top 6, and we were able to pass a couple cars, come home 4th. So it was a great points day, great day all the way around. But, you know, when you see that 18-11 as strong as they were, and even our teammate Jimmy was better than we were, you know we got some work to do.
You mentioned a track change, and a lot of guys felt like around the halfway point, it's almost like flipping a switch. It just went away where a lot of guys thought they had tire problems. Was that the case for you too?
Yeah, I didn't ever feel like I had a tire problem. I was just tight in and loose off, you know, and we, you know, it just, every time we'd fix at the beginning of the run, we'd hurt at the end of the run, and every time we fixed the end of the run, we'd hurt the beginning. And finally, we made one adjustment there that seemed to you know, bring the car back to life a little bit, but we were just too tight. And then we were able to just free it up as a whole, and it was really good that last run.
Jeff Gordon leaves Thunder Valley with a top 5 finish. He leaves here 4th.
So Jeff is the points leader. He's not going to like us bringing this up, but it is 46 races since his last win. Points win, of course, and that's the longest in his career. But look at the Busch brothers, Jeff, Kurt and Kyle right up there in the top 5. Carl Edwards doesn't have a win this year either, but hanging in there at 5th.
Yeah, you know about Kurt Busch. I mean, he got caught up in that wreck early. He still came home with an 11th place finish and was able to maintain, or really basically hop over Clint Boyer for second in the points. So I think that's one thing when he steps back and realizes that, you know, the team is performing well even through all the adversity. So I think that, you know, a pretty good day for him.
And you did not see Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that group. Jimmy Johnson, who was 13th, did jump up to 9th.
Yeah, and one other guy right there we can't overlook is the 11th place guy, the 00 of David Ruderman.
Let's get some thoughts again from Larry, Darrell, and Mike.
Well, 2 of the super teams in Sprint Cup, Joe Gibbs Racing and Rick Hendrick Racing, did real well today. But Roush Fenway Racing, which has won 7 of the last 12 Sprint Cup races here, fared poorly. They only had 1 car in the top 25, and that was Carl Edwards back in 15th place.
Yeah, they didn't have the greatest today, but you know something I saw today, and it kind of brought back to my memory. 30 years ago, I saw a young man come in here and win a race, and everybody was a little rough around the edges, and everybody said, yeah, that guy's got a lot of talent, but I don't know if he can ever win a championship or not. I think we know the rest of the story. That guy was Dale Earnhardt, and he went on to win 7 championships. We're seeing that again with this kid. Winning a lot of races, can he win a championship? I think he's going to win a lot of championships.
And, of course, we're spinning ahead as we've been promoting all day long. 2 consecutive short track races. And there's not a lot of resemblance between Bristol and Martinsville other than the fact they're both half-mile. I wouldn't bet against Kyle Busch if we're going to race lawnmowers out in the field, so we know he will be one of the guys. But when I look at the teams that finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th here today, we know how dominant they've been at Martinsville. Denny Hamlin won this race a year ago, and I can't even count the number of races that Hendrick Motorsports, mainly Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, have won at that half-mile track.
Yeah, the straightaway speeds are faster perhaps, but the corner speeds are much slower. You're down to what, almost 30 miles an hour in the middle of the corner. That's plenty of room to beat and bang.
Yeah, you got to be rough and tough and kind of tumble and roll with it here. But there it takes a lot of finesse. Down those long straightaways, and then you got to work that brake and that gas together. It's the paper clip, you know, 2 long straightaways, and you turn around and go the other way. So I love Martinsville. It's next to Bristol. It's my next favorite track.
Here's the other thing about Martinsville. It's like Fenway Park or Wrigley or Lambeau Field. You sit right on top of the action when you're there at Martinsville, and we're going to have a big doubleheader for you next weekend. The Camping World Truck Series on Saturday and NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing presented by the Home Depot on Sunday.
If we have a doubleheader, that must mean double the hot dogs then, right?
Right. The famous Martinsville hot dogs. We'll have a bunch of them.
Oh, boy.
You know, every race seems to have one driver that just seems to have a breakout day, and but for that dropping a valve and being down a cylinder, it could have been a top 5 for Marcus Ambrose. Dick Bergman's with him.
What a strong run today. Where did this all come from?
We've been building. Frankie Kurtz has been awesome for me. He saved my career. We merged with Michael Waltrip Racing. Our first year in the Cup Series with Kingston Clarks, and Little Debbie's back again. It's just great to get him a top 10 on oval, especially short track. I really want to break that mantra of just being a road specialist. But we dropped a valve or something there with 200 to go, so we had our hands full. But the car was just fantastic all day, and just got to hand it to my guys. Just thank them so much. I just feel like I'm breaking free, you know, getting those shackles off my back and getting ready to go.
You look like a guy that just took a little ride down to the grocery store. Can you go 500 more laps?
Yeah, if the car was that good, I could. You know, I've been training hard in the off-season, trying to get my body and my mind right. And I know I've only got one chance at the Cup level, and I just want to make every post a winner if I can.
All right, congratulations. Job well done, Marcus Ambrose.
Thanks, Dick. 2nd career top 10 for the Australian, and a tough place to earn it at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Oh, wait a minute. He's from Tasmania. He's a Tasmanian devil, folks. I mean, his place here should be child's play for a guy like that. Now, he is very, very talented, and I think that, you know, he talks about how great his team is. But this man, I mean, he's not a spring chicken, let's face that. He comes from Australia, but he's worked very hard, conditioning and everything else to be able to come in here and run with these guys. I think you can tell after the end of this 500-lapper here that he was able to fare pretty well and run with the big boys all day long.
Is Tasmania near Talladega? I'm going to have to check my We Kid Because We Care. I want to ask you about Jimmy Johnson, who we heard from a little bit earlier, right?
All right.
He started the year going for his 4th straight championship, hasn't won a race yet, but he finally got a top 5. And, of course, Kyle Busch has been the story through the first 5 races of this year.
Welcome to short track racing, buddy. Fender here. Watch him.
Inside, 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 inside.
Slow it down, stay low. Clear all the way to the bottom, yellow.
Stay low, get down, 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 down.
All right, just keep coming high, keep coming, come on, high. It's all clear, good job.
Here's the fact. I feel like I've been driving in circles all day.
Good job, man. Awesome job. Everybody proud of you.
That's how it sounded in Thunder Valley as Kyle Busch wins his second race of the year, and again in a dominating fashion. Actually 503 laps here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Jeff Hammond, Chris Marshall. I want to ask you about Jimmy Johnson, because he seemed like, he said, you heard me? Hey, I wish we had another 500 laps. He wanted to play catch up. I don't know how grueling. Still doesn't have a win, but this was his first top 5 this year.
Yeah, but when you think about what he just got through telling you, the way you need to look at that, Chris, he's trying to tell everybody, I think I got this place figured out. And every racetrack so far throughout his career, once he kind of figures it out, he usually goes back and runs off a pretty good string of wins there. So you might want to start thinking about the August race when we come back to Bristol. He may be the guy you want to choose, because normally when he figures it out, watch out.
Still hasn't won here, but a terrific short track racer. His teammate Mark Martin on the pole now moved up to 30th, so he's got a little more room in that danger zone with the points. Our Matt Yoakum is standing by with Mark.
And catching up with Mark Martin, very strong run by you and his 5 team. How would you describe your day at Days End?
Fun. I wasn't happy with the car yesterday, and I didn't think we were going to be very good today. And we started the race, and we really weren't very good. And one little change and a long run, and that car was on fire. And I had a blast all the rest of the way. And we made one last adjustment trying to get good enough to win, and it took us, we stepped over the edge and wasn't so good the last run. So great, it's just great for this team to get some forward momentum. But it was pretty awesome. That car was rolling on those long greens.
You were joking earlier in the weekend that you just wanted to get your season started, and this really starts the season off for you guys after all the bad luck. Now it's really rolling, going to some great tracks for Mark Martin.
You know, I think they'll all be great in that Kellogg's CarQuest Chevy.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, Kurt Busch, you didn't win today, but Busch won for the 3rd weekend in a row. How's that?
That's good. We had a great Miller Lite Dodge, just got in trouble early on, and felt like we just kept battling back. And long green runs is where I thought we could catch up. And man, everybody had good cars today. So we came home 11th, one shy of a top 10. But the overall big picture, we just need to get our cars to turn better at the short tracks. So I think we fixed them in the 1.5 mile stuff.
But you passed 21 cars to finish there. What was it like passing that many?
Yeah, passed a lot of cars. You know, this track, it's not like the old Bristol. You get guys side by side and you have nowhere to go. Guys from behind can catch you real easy. And you're in a mess. You're in a gaggle of cars if you're not busting through to be in the top 5, top 6 cars.
What do you got for us next weekend at Martinsville?
I hope we've got a good adjustments that we can make. We got to make our cars turn on the short tracks. I feel like we bumped up our 1.5 mile program. So if we can come away with Martinsville finishing 10th or 11th, we'll take it.
And that would be 4 Busch brothers in a row if he did it.
All right, thanks very much. Great effort for him to work his way back. Juan Pablo Montoya, his best run so far this year, a top 10 finish.
You know, he's been flirting around there. Good qualifying runs and everything like that so far this year. And to not really be, I guess, surprised but not surprised. It seemed like his team all of a sudden, since they made the change to Chevrolets, they've gotten stronger. They've been able to put some things together. And I don't know if it's all because of just Ryan Patty and Juan Pablo, you know, kind of getting on the same page, or if it's a situation of bringing Martin Truex Jr. in as a teammate that's really helped this group. But they've been stronger, Chris. I think, you know, the first, 5 races of the season they were a year ago.
And Casey Ken never really a threat for the lead, but again, the 5th place finish, he's up there at points. It's some steady racing.
I mean, the thing is, again, when you think about like what Darrell said, you first, to be able to make any kind of a points gain or win a race, you've got to first finish, and that's what he did. He went out there, he kept banging away, and the next thing you know, he winds up in the top 5. He almost looked like they were going to mount a charge late, but he just couldn't quite put down the speed, I think, when he really needed to against those 2 Toyotas and that Chevrolet Jimmy Johnson's.
A lot more interviews to come here. Kyle Busch the winner, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. battled back to finish 14th and on the lead lap. Let's check in with him.
Well, Dale Jr., a top 20 finish. Talk about your day, good, bad, otherwise.
It was all right. We needed to run better than that, but we qualified so poorly. I made a real big mistake in qualifying, and we had a pretty good car, and we just needed track position, couldn't get it all day. We just ran really hard and passed when we could pass. Nobody could really do much passing, so it was hard to get up through there. And we had a better car than the result, but that was my fault for qualifying so poorly.
Dale, earlier in the weekend on Friday, you came to Tony Jr.'s defense and said an interesting thing. You said, I feel like I'm sending my brother to jail when I read for a crime I committed. And talk about your relationship. I talked to Tony Jr. this morning. He sounds like he's in good shape.
Well, he is. I mean, the media and the media and the internet and all that, they make such a big deal out of everything, and it's definitely not reality. The spin that the media puts on it and the spin that the internet and all the news puts on it is not reality. It's not how the situation really is. So he just has to, the hardest part is he gets calls from other people going, man, you see what this guy said? And we know better than to read that stuff. We stay away from it, but our friends will bring it to us. So, but he's got a good head on his shoulders. He was thinking really good today, and we all were, and we worked really hard on our car to get the best finish we could, and we feel like we did under the circumstances. And we'll go next week. We tested at Little Rock, getting ready for Martinsville. I feel like we'll have a good car.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And Earnhardt go to the track he led the most laps at last season in Martinsville. He's moving up to 19th now in points. Got a couple of free passes today. We'll hear from a former Daytona 500 winner and a surprise driver doing well in today's race when we continue live from Bristol.
Shot into right. This game is tied. And that is a rocket into left. A towering three-run home run. Rips one into right field. That is a blast. What a game, I'll say. Wow. And way out of here.
Hope you'll be with us beginning April 11th. Fox Saturday Baseball returns, and all the way through the season, the All-Star Game on the World Series. Get to see Manny as a Dodger against the Red Sox, his former team, to get things going. And then again against the Rockies in the National League West. And CC Sabathia, Mark Teixeira, a couple of the signees for the Yankees as they play their rival, the Boston Red Sox. I want to ask you about...
Right quick, I know what we need to do. We need to bring those guys here and let's have a home run derby and see if they can hit it out of this racetrack.
You were the one with the baseball bat hitting a windshield in one of those State Farm safety reports.
I was just pretending it was you.
We got a slow pitch softball. Hey, I wanted to ask you about Junior. We heard his comments about what they have to do to pick it up. They're moving in the right direction, but they haven't been close to victory lane yet.
Yeah, they're moving in the right direction. I'll give them that right there as far as that's concerned. I love Tony Jr. to death, but they've got to make something better because I don't like to see a guy who's happy he's finished 14th. I mean, I know they started very badly as far as the qualifying is concerned, Chris, but I've seen other guys. For example, you take a look at Denny Hamlin. He started 24th, as well as Jeff Burton, who started 40th, and they still finished ahead of him. So, I mean, there's some things they've got to improve on, and I'm glad he feels that way about him, and he's got the man's back, but I think a lot of people think he needs to pick it up a little bit. I think, as Darrell said, they've got to make something happen, and this is their time to shine.
All right, and, of course, Jeff is ready. 2 weeks from Saturday, opening day, he can't wait for Saturday baseball on Fox. Look at those goggles. Darrell Waltrip, all those years you had to put up with him. I'm not surprised. Was that a foam rubber bat or was that a real baseball bat?
I like what those wrestlers told him. This is not shop class.
Darrell, they weren't wrestlers. They were fighters.
Whatever they were.
Hey, Darrell, what about Larry and Mike? Your thoughts on Jeff's comments about Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
They're moving forward.
They have. Here's the thing about it. They know they have the potential to do what Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon does. I honestly believe that team's as good as. There's things that happen to them during the race that they just can't seem to get a handle on. I think if they could just somehow in the middle of the race make the better adjustments instead of going backwards and then having to fight back at the end, they could get there. But that's where they're really behind, I think.
All right, a couple other good stories outside the top 10. Travis Kvapil fighting for his race team's life. Finished one lap down, 18th. Hopes to attract a sponsor. Wants to keep on racing. Had nothing to lose, everything to gain today. Did a great job.
Well, Larry, the party, it might be time to turn out the lights, and the party might be over, but the work isn't.
No.
Because the top five are down there right now going through a technical inspection.
Little post-race inspection.
You can tell them about that because you know more about it than I do.
Well, the biggest thing, they'll be tearing the engines apart in the top 5 cars. And the reason you see the 33 car there of Clint Boyer, yeah, he finished 13th. But NASCAR has a random draw. And how that random draw is determined is the first car out of the race, which in the case of today's race would be Dave Blaney, they draw a pill. And he drew the 13th place pill. Clint Boyer finishes 13th. They tear that engine apart. But, Mike, I do want to follow up with one more feel-good story, and I think it's about 2009. We know that Dale Earnhardt Jr. maybe shouldn't be happy with finishing 14th, but a guy that I think is going to be very happy with finishing 16th A.J. Allmendinger. There's a guy that's been on the season and in the series for 3 years. It has been a struggling 3 years. He missed half the races his rookie season back in 2007. He didn't even know if he really had a ride for 2009. He had to come in here with Gillette Evernham in the 44 car and qualify on time every single race, and that he indeed did. Finished 16th. He goes to Martinsville, 16th in the points. He doesn't have to worry about qualifying. He will race at Martinsville.
But he does need to worry about, he needs a sponsor.
He does need a sponsor. We got a few cars in that position. Yes, we do.
Now, one last word on Dale Jr. If you're going this week to watch him test at Little Rock, don't go to Arkansas. That's not where Little Rock is.
It's Little Rockingham.
Let's catch up on a driver who did get a needed finish in the top 10 today. Here's Dick Berggren.
Well, Ryan Newman, the bad luck finally ends. You get yourself the first top 10 of the year. How's it feel?
Great. This U.S. Army Chevrolet, it was good off the truck, and we were pretty good the whole race. I think we stayed in the top 10 the entire race. But great job by the guys on the pit road, and great effort with Tony Gibson. Everybody back at the shop. Hendrick horsepower was pretty good, too. So just a great effort. Helped us in the points. That was big, and it gets a little pressure off us going into Martinsville.
How rough was it out there today?
It wasn't that bad. I thought the racing was pretty good. It was tight. Everybody seemed like to be running about the same speed, and track position was huge. We lost a couple spots there on pit road, gained a couple spots on pit road, and stayed, a 5th to 8th place car pretty much all day.
How big a relief is this for you to be well inside the top 35 and not have to worry? Or are you just going to go to Martinsville and win the pole?
I was going to try to do that anyway.
Thanks, Dick. 22nd was the best finish for Ryan Newman prior to today. What about his teammate, the owner-driver, Tony Stewart? 17th today here at Bristol, but still 7th in the points, about pacing early through these first 5 races.
Well, I don't think, by Tony's standards, he would be totally happy with what his result was today. But for Ryan Newman coming in here, qualifying on the outside pole and running up there basically in the top 10 all day long, it's got to be kind of like a relief, as he told our Dick Berggren, because he has struggled this year. He's had some bad luck more than anything else. That car has been competitive at different times. I think, at Daytona, he had a shot, to be up there thrashing for a win, but instead he got caught up in somebody else's issues. And, it's kind of like it's tough when you got a new team. So this may be exactly what this guy needs to get a shot in the arm to go to Martinsville and kind of keep on a roll.
All right, our Dick Berggren, he's been busy. He's ageless, Dick Berggren, like a spring chicken when we turn to spring. He's so old, he was on a game show and first prize was fire. That's it. No, I kid. All right, but he did catch, I kid.
He went the next week.
He did catch up with David Rudiman, who was a pleasant surprise. Dick.
Well, David Rudiman was hot all weekend. He was fast in practice, fast in qualifying, fast in the race, pulled off a top 12 finish. Good weekend?
Yeah, all in all, a good weekend, especially the way the weekends have gone for me here in the past. Sometimes the top 12 feels like a win, but everybody at Michael Waltrip Racing did a phenomenal job. The Aaron Stream machine drove good right off the trailer, and we were just a little short there at the end, and had trouble making the car rotate and stuff. And all in all, it felt really good. And how about that 47 car, Marcus Ambrose? He ran good all day too. So another MWR car. So we're getting a little closer. And again, I'm proud of my guys, and I thank Aaron's and everybody involved in this deal. It was a lot of fun today.
Michael Waltrip Racing in general this year is doing far better than it did last year. To what do you attribute the success?
Well, I mean, it's just a lot of things, Dick. It's a combination of the people that we have, the hard work, the cars that we're having built now, Toyota Racing Development, Toyota, giving us phenomenal engines and stuff, and and my guys doing a good job on pit road, and Rodney Childers making good pit calls. So, and we're all working together as kind of one cohesive unit. So at the end of the day, that starts adding up to results on the racetrack. It's hard, man, but we're getting there a little bit at a time.
David's father, Buzzy, is in his mid-60s, and he's a racer, too. How much pressure did this put on your dad, seeing how well you're running?
Well, he's going to have to step up his program a little bit. I don't think he's got a kind of an evergreen deal there where as long as he wants to race, I'll take care of him. But he lets me give him a hard time Monday mornings on the telephone a little bit. We go back and forth all week. So I got one up on him this week. We'll have to wait and see how next week goes.
The family that races together stays together. Congratulations on a great weekend, David.
Thanks so much, Dick. So Rudiman 11th in points after a 12th place finish today. I want to send out birthday greetings to Pam Miller, our pit producer, Artie Kempner, our director, off for a break, celebrated a birthday this week, and Associate Director Judy Wan. And we'll continue with more interviews. We're live from Bristol. It's NASCAR on Fox. Short track racing dominated by Kyle Busch as we're wrapping things up for NASCAR on Fox here at Bristol Motor Speedway. The crowd clearing out, but you have the best seat in the house sitting at home. Next on Fox, You'll get King of the Hill, Family Guy. You ever watch on Family Guy that Quagmire, the crazy neighbor says giggity giggity? It sounds like boogity boogity boogity.
Quagmire,
Our buddy DW.
Yeah, Quagmire.
You've seen that.
That would be very appropriate for Daryl.
Yeah,
you know what Quagmire is, right?
It would be.
It's like quicksand.
No, it's a different. I'm Chris Myers. He's Quagmire. All right, so 5 races in. The Busch brothers, Kyle's on a roll here, but now we go to Martinsville. Denny Hamlin. That was his last win, as a matter of fact.
Last win there, but guess what? The way I look at it, we're going to a racetrack. Once again, a lot of racetracks are like this for a guy named Jeff Gordon. Leading the points, needing a win, good place for him to be going.
All right, and in terms of Kyle Busch, you said watch what he's doing. Toyota. I still think Jimmy Johnson too. Jeff Gordon. Jeff's still your points leader. They're on to something here.
No, they're definitely on to something, and that's what to me is what's making it so intriguing. Is we're seeing a little bit different start out of Jeff Gordon than in years past. All of a sudden, it looks like the Busch brothers, I'm talking about Kurt and Kyle, have figured out how to score points and be competitive, especially for that 2 car. It's pretty exciting to see them up there right now because he has won a championship before, and he could be a factor.
Kyle Busch, 378 laps led today, 867 laps led in the first 7 Bristol races he's run in. Here's the schedule from American Dad, The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, and another roundup of American Dad. NASCAR on Fox returns next weekend from Martinsville with the Camping World Truck Series. Saturday, that's on Fox, 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. We hope you join us then. And on Sunday, Sprint Cup Series racing, built by the Home Depot, starting at 1:30 Eastern with the pre-race show.
And the only thing I got to say about that is we look here at 12 rounds with John Cena coming up.
Check out 12 rounds in theaters on Friday, your pre-Martinsville action fix. And for Jeff Hammond and our entire crew and Kyle Busch in Victory Lane, thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. You have a great week, and we hope to see you in Martinsville.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders pop behind. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the double say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. NASCAR racing, boys.
Promotional considerations provided by